Holy shit! Welcome to a 0.5 episode of Xbox Infinite. It's sort of a bit of a new overlay, bit of a new difference. All the guys are at work, but I've got Garuda Intruder here with me, and shit is going down, man. We've been watching this since midday for us. I haven't got a chance to get across everything. I don't think you can get across everything here, but welcome to the show, man. How you been doing? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Thanks, bro. This is wild, man. I've never seen a leak like this before. Like, there is tons to go over, and I think it's all pretty cool stuff, man. I've been playing Starfield and absolutely nothing else. I'm enamored with the game, and man, but I can't even think about Starfield right now, and that is crazy to think about. So, bro, let's get into this.
Yeah, well, I didn't really start delving into this until later on the night, because it's nighttime for us. Till later on the night, because I was knees deep in Starfield, and I didn't really want to look at what was going on. But like, holy shit! So look, what I do want to dive straight into. Obviously, we're going to be talking about everything that has to do with this leak. This is going to be sort of live reaction, because I mean, we were talking about this in the green room. Like, is it this? Is it that? Is it this? What's going on? What's that? So we're going to tear through it as much as we can. I'm going to try and bring stuff up on screen as well. So the first thing I want to jump into, we do have Umbra on the way. He should join us when he can. Mans is finishing work, so we're going to have a feed, and then he's going to jump in. First thing to talk about is the games. Look at this list. This is crazy. So we were talking about this in the green room, and you think that this is a year out. So if we're talking about fiscal years, then
it looks like it looks like fiscal, or it looks a little bit out, but
yeah, it's got to be fiscal year, because we get Doom Eternal and DLC. We did get that in 2020 though, right? Fallout Wastelanders. What was
this release schedule must be a little bit either old or something like that. Maybe a year or so old, because it's got Starfield and financial year. Oh yeah, that's what that would stand for. Financial year 21. We of course know that was originally planned for 21 and came out in 23. So perhaps that's a little bit old.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, obviously it is. They're going to be using like older documents that they had to submit to the FTC. If you're not sure if this leak is 110%, by the way, I think it was Uncompetitive in the chat said he's pretty sure it's real. It is real. This is straight from the FTC. So all of these documents, they're straight from the FTC, straight from Microsoft. So fiscal year 2022. So the Indiana Jones game was supposed to be in 2023. So that's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, does it say fiscal year 23? Because that would mean
that's 22. It says 2022.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's fiscal year 2022. Indiana Jones Oblivion remaster. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen Fallout
3.
We haven't seen Fallout 3. We have got the expansion for Elder Scrolls. So we got that.
Is it the same one though?
Yeah, it would be, because they release that massive expansion. They release one sort of every year, right? So that's some. But sort of the meat of it, Project Kestrel. What the hell's that? Exactly.
Yeah, don't know about that one.
Yeah.
Don't know about that one.
We haven't heard anything about that. Project Platinum. I had a thought about this. So Platinum Games, they're working on a game with Xbox. I hope they don't make this game. But
these are all Bethesda projects, though, by the look of that. It's not Xbox as a whole. It looks like they're all Bethesda projects. So I mean, it could. Well, you never know. They could be working in with Bethesda. You never know. I mean, I've never heard of those two code names. So, man, yeah, they could be anything.
Well, you got to think Project Kestrel would probably be. That's got to be a Quake, right? We haven't heard anything from Ed. We haven't heard anything from Ed.
Well, I would have said yes, except for when you scroll down and see that it looks like there's a new Doom in the works. And if that's the case, then I don't think that Ed would be focusing on anything else but Doom. I couldn't see him doing a new Doom and a new Quake personally. But you never know. You never know, because they brought out the Quake 2 remaster with what looks to be like sort of a hype train leading up to a new game. to build that new fan base again and bring the IP back into the limelight. It could be, but it looks like when you go down,
Wolfenstein could be Wolfenstein, but then
that's what I hope. I hope so.
But then they're making Indiana Jones machine games. So I mean, Project Hibiki, that was Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So this would say that would suggest that this is indeed a little bit dated. This is probably or around the time of the acquisition, maybe, of Bethesda. It could be because it goes back to 20, so it would have to have been from around the time of the acquisition.
More like a wish list.
More like a wish list or sort of thing. It could be, but yeah, that if Hi-Fi Rush is still there with a code name, it would have to be a little bit old, I would say.
Well, I think the main ones here to sort of think about is they've got planned because they fiscal year 2024. This is crazy that they so Dishonored 3, so that would be planned for 2025. A Ghostwire Tokyo sequel. God, I hope not.
I don't know. I didn't mind. I mean, I didn't get right into Ghostwire Tokyo, but what I played of it was cool. It was just had a little bit of odd jankiness about it, I guess you could say. It didn't feel polished, but I think the IP's got massive potential personally, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it was rubbish.
Okay.
But Dishonored, okay. I mean, a lot of people loved it, so that's all good. Elder Scrolls 6. And then they've also noted the platforms for that as PC and Xbox only. So that has been causing massive salt across Twitter.
Have you got that list still? Because it's disappeared for me.
Yes, I do.
If you can.
How about we do this? And I pop it. Boom.
So I really want to have a good look at that because this is wild. It's hard to get your head around, man. This is the biggest info drop, bro. Like,
oh yeah, this is absolutely nuts, man. Like I don't think there's ever been a leak like this huge. I mean, we're going to get to the console later. I'm sort of hanging around because I want to. It was me and Umbra that was real big into Pete about. You should be able to see it now in the Discord.
I jumped on that one as well. Yeah, it was always going to happen, I thought, but
yeah, we'll definitely get into that. But you've just like the FTC has just like there's going to be some swear words through this show, guys.
Oh my goodness,
the FTC has just fucked Xbox's plans until 2030. Like they have literally just oust absolutely everything Xbox has got planned in the background is now out in public fucking knowledge, man. Like
they would want to hope that they have covered every one of their tracks and every loophole that could possibly incriminate them in the leaking of this information because, man, they are going down if it can be directly traced back to them.
Oh, it is. Like, it's on their website. It's literally came straight from their website. They just turned on.
They are going down because this is so big that there's no coincidence about this because where are the PlayStation documents? Why have they miraculously not leaked? You know, like this is weird, man. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much here. I'm literally just flicking through bits of it now. You should check the Discord. That's Pete, welcome to the show,
bruh.
Apologies for being late. Wow.
Hey, yes, Pete, how are you, brother?
Yeah, good, bro. Good. I couldn't miss this.
No, yeah, it's wild.
This is nuts, man. Absolutely nuts. I had to go live, man, because this is fucking craziness. That like the FTC has. I don't know what the legal recourse is on this. This is like.
This is insane.
Completely, I would say, classified information. I mean, it's like
that's exactly what it is. Heads need to roll. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, this is bigger than. This is potential incrimination. Like, this is massive.
Here's the thing that's really interesting about this whole thing. Not a single fucking PlayStation document has leaked. Not a one. Man. Not a one. We haven't got anything about PlayStation. So what the hell is going on?
And yet the next 7 years, of Xbox and Microsoft's roadmap for the platform and the brand as a whole, every detail is leaked at once. Like, man, there is no coincidence to this stuff. Like, are they serious?
Here's what I'd say about that. I would say that Microsoft would have to have given the courts a lot more documents than PlayStation would have had to have.
Oh, they would have, but I mean, not even one from PlayStation, dude. Like, oh,
Surely.
bro.
Surely there would be one.
This isn't a good look given that the FTC are already publicly upset with Xbox and Microsoft. This is just, there's no way out of this, I don't think, for the FTC.
It seems pretty vindictive.
Yeah.
You can't. Can you not? You can't sue the government, can you?
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can. Well, man, surely there would be some sort of legal recourse. I mean, so now in any case going forward. So now in any case going forward, if you have to deal with the FTC and you're going to be handing off your documents, like, how much faith in that institution are you going to have?
Put it this way, whatever small amount of credibility that was left that the FTC still held, it has now been completely abolished. It is in disarray, that place, man. That organization is just in complete tatters right now. It is on fire. What else can you say? Like, it is the most unprofessional entity pretty much in the world at the moment. It's wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, look, let's jump into the console. And I'll definitely bring this up on screen, but unfortunately, like, it's quite a small little graphic, so I'll try to blow it up a little bit for you guys. And I'll pop it over there in the Discord for you fellas so you can read it too. So there's a new console obviously leaked. Pretty interesting. So it says it's the most powerful Xbox ever now, adorably all digital. Fuck me. Brooklyn is the name, the code name. You can see at the front it's got like a little USB-C port, which is smart. They should have done that with the Xbox Series X. But Brooklyn will deliver 4K Gen 9 console gaming. So it's still Gen 9 with more internal storage, faster Wi-Fi, reduced power, a more immersive controller, and a beautiful redesign. We're going to have a field day. Pete's going to give me 2 of his knees tonight because we got the controller. A more immersive controller.
Yes and no.
A beautiful redesign. Well, there's definitely a yes with the controller.
It's not a pro console. You can't.
Yeah,
it doesn't say that.
I knew you were coming. I knew your angle, Pete. It's got no extra power.
Update a console with a controller. I mean, that makes no sense. But continue, Risk, please.
Oh, definitely a more immersive controller. A beautiful redesign that elevates the all-digital experience of the Xbox ecosystem. Beautiful and innovative new design with more internal storage, USB-C front port, all new immersive controller, blah, blah, blah. Updated technologies. All new South Bridge to modernize I/O and sustainability efforts. Yeah. Wi-Fi updated. PSU reduces power by 20%. Standby mode is down by 20%. Increased use of PCR and housing to 30%. 100% recyclable packaging. Wow. Are we excited about this?
No, it has no extra power. I'm sorry.
I mean, I was speaking to a couple of people in the chat before. Manic was very excited about it because he wanted to go. He's been all digital for a while. I still don't mind having a Blu-ray disc on my console. I don't think, there's no extra horsepower. So it's not for me.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, where's the... Like, this is a... I hate to say this, and people in the chat are going to go nuts. This is a blatant fuck up on their part, man. Now, listen, this is the other thing. So these are plans from very early on, I imagine, like you were saying earlier on, Garuda. So there could be plans to then update. But I hate to always harken back because it sounds like I'm name dropping. But we did speak to Jason Ronald about this, and his answer was very much like, "How are we going to squeeze more power in without charging you a massive premium? And if we're going to charge you a massive premium, how many of you are going to pay it?" And that was his answer. So to me, I sort of knew that this wasn't coming as a pro. But I knew there was a new console coming, so at least get half one of Pete's knees. Garuda, now that you're a PC shell, how do you feel about the new console?
I'm not going to try not to be too harsh. Look, straight away, I think the most obvious thing for the more hardcore fan base is that it doesn't seemingly have a better GPU or CPU, which means it's not going to have any more horsepower. which is probably the only thing we really care about. Most of the guys here that are listening and us guys thinking about it now. But I think the form factor looks pretty cool. It sort of looks like an air humidifier or something like that, or like a purifier that I'm running right now. It sort of looks sleek and nice. I think it looks lovely, and the new controller looks and reads really cool. Actually, I think Xbox has been sort of long overdue for a bit of a refresh and a modernization of their controllers. I love the controller, but just some of those little added benefits are going to be nice. Apart from that, as far as I'm concerned, it really just reads as if they're going to be making a lot more return on each system. If the sum of its parts are going to be a lot cheaper by being recyclable and so on and so forth, as it reads, they're probably going to be making Xbox is probably going to be making a lot more money off each console than they are now. But it doesn't really bring a lot more to the table tangibly than probably having the extra 1 terabyte of storage, which can be expanded anyway. So really for me, it's a little bit, it's not that exciting. If it had extra power, yeah. I mean, I think it'd be great.
If you actually played on console still, and you hadn't switched because you did your nana about Starfield, right? If that hadn't happened, would this be something you would buy? Probably fucking not, right?
No, not unless there was like a really sweet trade-in deal, like there oftentimes is when the new consoles release, and it was just going to be an extra couple of $100 to upgrade, and I would probably do it for that reason. But if not, no. There's just no reason to. You're not going to get really anything extra. Your games are not going to run any better. So for that reason alone, no, it's not really enticing for me at all.
Pete, you think
it also depends on how much you'll get for your console when you trade it in. And
that's what I mean.
Yeah. Before.
Yeah. If it was a nice trade-in deal and I was still on Xbox, that'd be the only reason I'd do it. But I mean, on the flip side, one of the funny things is you going back to what Jason Ronalds said about a true mid-gen increased horsepower console refresh. Would people buy it? I mean, I just think that they might do the metrics and say that no one would, but man, people buy $2,000 phones every single year. Like, of course, people would go and buy an extra.
And to your point, they're already offering with our telecommunications providers, and I imagine, and they're doing it in America as well, and then obviously in the UK, they're offering you a pretty sweet deal where you don't pay anything extra and you can basically pay it off. So I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't be pushing that harder as well. I mean, that's exactly like getting a phone every year.
Yeah, I just think they don't want to be developing for any more SKUs than they already are. I think that's what it is. I think it's too complicated for them, maybe. But yeah, for me personally, that's disappointing. The form factor's cool. I love the look of the controller and everything else. The new Wi-Fi 6 and stuff is cool, but yeah, no extra power.
My arguments for not getting a mid-gen refresh are that's one of them, Garuda. I don't want to develop for any more SKUs. It's also the Series X chip is incredibly expensive already. Chips haven't gone down in price. It costs more to make silicone now than it did back then when the console first came out. And so this is a way around that. This seems like a slim to me, with a little bit added benefits. But what do you guys think of the controller itself? It seems to me like you're adding gyro.
Before we go to the controller. Let's go back to you. That's a reason why the development SKUs. We've had this conversation. I don't know how many times. We'll have it again. So they wouldn't have to develop for any more SKUs. Like all they would be doing is scaling games. So that is not.
Baldur's Gate is the perfect example why scaling doesn't work effectively for every single game.
No. It does if you have the same RAM. So if you're running similar RAM, so it would work for the Series X. You could scale, you could do a Pro, and upgrade your GPU, as we've had this conversation. You still stick with the same CPU because you wouldn't need to upgrade that. It's probably not bottlenecking just yet, any more than 4090s are. And then all you have to do is scale your game. So that's not developing for a different SKU. That's developing for a SKU and then scaling your game. I don't see that as there's many other valid arguments. I just don't see that.
I just think that's I'm not arguing that's why. they didn't add extra power. I'm saying that's why I think Xbox. That would be Xbox's excuse for not adding extra power. That'd be what they think, but I think it's not a big deal to because you're already developing for countless different PC specs anyway. So you've got to optimize for every different GPU, every different like 10 series, 20, 30, 40, and almost coming up to 50 series S, X, in some cases Xbox One, and also like Steam Deck and ROG Ally. You're already developing for all those SKUs. So what's another Xbox SKU? It's not that big a deal, but that'd be what Xbox would tell you probably. In my opinion,
I think it's price.
There's been
price alone.
There's pushback, price. That was one of mine as well.
Yeah.
But there's also been pushback from developers that don't want to develop for more SKUs. We've had the EA ports that have just been awful. I mean, Jedi Survivor still doesn't run well after its latest patch. They just don't want to do the extra work. They're scraping by making these hundreds of multi-million-dollar games at the moment, and so it's an argument. It's another point to why I thought
it's a. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, and we could shift to that because they're obviously going to update the Series S as well. I believe it's called the Elwood Series S refresh. I did not think. Well, I didn't know if they were going to do this, and I never said they would or they wouldn't. What I said was they would be fucking stupid to do so, and it seems like they are doing it anyway, which is just man, they're killing me with this shit. So this, and we gotta have this conversation, I think, again. But the Series S is going to be basically refreshed. It's going to have more internal storage. So I think what we're looking at here, as in the Elwood, is the new black that we've got, and they've obviously gone with they've gone with the 2 terabytes of storage instead of the just the 1 terabyte of storage. So all this stuff's not set in stone, right? Which gives me hope that I can still get Pete's knees on the table.
Wait, so that's the one thing I haven't seen much about the Series S Elwood refresh. Is it spec differently?
No,
it's exactly the same. They're both exactly the same in specs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Disappointing, right? You can hear the disappointment. Hear the disappointment.
Yeah, I just in your voice, because you can't really get Pete's knees for that.
Well, I'm not going to get Pete's knees for that. No.
I would argue that I get both yours and
Dealer, what's up
for these.
Why? Why would you argue that you?
Because this is not a mid-gen refresh. It is just not. There is no horsepower increase. I mean, that's what you expect.
Well, what's a refresh, man? What's a refresh? It says
this is the definition of a slimmed down console.
Hang on, it says here. It says Elwood,
with a new controller,
Xbox Series S refresh. Refresh. It's in the name.
Give
me the names.
You're gonna believe the marketing except your own eyes. Come on, bro.
It doesn't look like the form factor's changing a lot with the S, though.
No. What else could you do with it? I better be nice to the S because we got Dealer in the chat, and I know you're going me for it. But what they could have done here is just drop the S, and they still might do it, but I doubt they will because they've already released the Series S Black. So they could have dropped the S, upgraded the Series X, made a new Series X Pro, as we've talked about many times, and then used the Series X that they have now, the normal one, as the S.
And we've also had this argument that they're just never going to do that. They're not going to drop the amount of people that bought the S. It's just not right. You can't do that.
That's
it
true.
Won't happen.
That's
true. Still going to be the baseline throughout the whole generation. And I don't know, man. There's an argument that the S is lacking in RAM and stuff like that, and the developers are having problems. Sure, but it's still light years ahead of last-gen consoles, and last-gen consoles had Red Dead 2. So, I mean, you know what I mean? When you look at it that way, it's like these systems still aren't being optimized for properly and utilized in the correct way by developers still. So, if Series S is your baseline, it's a pretty damn good baseline. You know what I mean, man? Like it's still not being used right.
Well, look, there's been plenty of. Here's the thing: that there's been plenty of examples where the S has performed well. The Resident Evil 4 performed amazingly. Dead Space performed amazingly. Yeah. But again, we have to harken back to the tools. They're not using the tools, and they're never fucking going to use the tools.
They're not going to. first party will use them, and that's it.
And that'll be it. And that's the problem with Xbox's entire ethos towards the no shade to Jason Ronald, but the whole ethos towards developing consoles is that they expected people to use tools instead of fucking horsepower. What we need to do is give the developers more horsepower, because it's clear that they're not going to optimize their games, or they're not going to have time, or they're going to be too ambitious, or the publisher's going to push them out for what the myriad of reasons why we get buggy messes of games.
Baseline power is the only thing that third-party devs are going to bother using, because they don't have to do the extra work to optimize with baseline power. That's it.
Up on my soapbox once again. Well, if you're just joining us, this is a bit of an impromptu Xbox Infinite, because some shit has dropped and we are delving into it. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We usually go live at 8 p.m. EST every Friday. I think we better talk about this controller. Pete, you said, and this is going to be a lot of shade being thrown Pete's way this show, because we've had some discussions about controllers. Let's jump on that one. You said it'd be too heavy. Do you still hold true? Do you think that this SKU of controller is just not going to be any good? Because you just didn't want it. Your whole, I mean, going back to
I never thought it was too heavy. You
did. No. You said it was too heavy. You couldn't fit it all in there, and it would be something to do with the mechanical. Using mechanical switches would be way too heavy. That's one of your arguments. You didn't want it for. Tell me the rest of them.
I never said that. I don't remember saying that.
You definitely did. 110%.
My argument to a digital controller, and this is looking like it's a digital controller, is that you are going to just lose the excellent battery life that the Xbox controllers have at the moment, which I love.
Yeah.
However, it does have removable batteries, so it's rechargeable but also removable.
Yeah, they're going to stick with the same thing, like where you can put batteries in the back of it. And I do like that. Look, I think options are king. I know that people complain about it, but I think the more options you give consumers, the better.
Me too.
So do you want it?
Hell yeah.
Do I want it? Yeah, look, I'd need to try it out. I'd need to know what the battery life is. I would definitely want to try it out.
But you want haptics. Listen, man, I'm going to be smoking the entire Xbox community on this one, because every single Xbot that I've talked to, Xbox player, and I'm an Xbot as well, has said, or at some stage defended like the controllers not having haptics. So now we're going to be all for it? That can't be right, man. Come on.
I did a survey right at the start of the generation when I think Xbox put out that survey asking people, if they like the PlayStation controller, if they like the idea of haptics, and I was against it. I just don't see a value in it. I've played with the PlayStation 5 controller, and quite honestly, I turn the haptics off most of the time. It gets infuriating. It is annoying.
Look, I think they're nice to have, but they're nowhere near the game changer that they were touted to be. They don't add anything to the game. They're just nice to haves, right?
Well, see, that's the argument that you get from the PlayStation, and there's going to be a little bit of smoke thrown out because the PlayStation fanboys this week have been absolutely horrific. This month, they've done some horrific things. They've sent death threats to a developer, but we'll get into that later as well. Maybe we won't, but we'll talk about this. That's their defense, that any game you get third party, if it's running just as well as the Series X, straight to haptics. So this removes a narrative, for one. And for two, I've always been for the haptics. I would be down to have haptics. Yeah, they're not great in first-person shooters, but in sad dad walking simulator over the shoulder like type deal, they're all right. I mean, depending on the implementation, obviously, it depends on implementation. And here's the other thing.
In racing games, they're fantastic.
And just before we delve into that, like the other thing as well is now that they're going to have two consoles using haptic feedback. What's up, Timmy? Champion in the chat. We're one of our moderators. Is that now we'll probably see really good third-party implementation of the haptic feedbacks in both.
That's what I was about to say, because even though these features are available and we have the hardware, we have the controller to do it, it still has to be implemented, which is, again, a little bit of extra work for the third-party developers to put in. But like you say, now that it's across the board with the 9th gen consoles, now that Xbox is going to have haptic feedbacks and stuff, and a gyro along with PlayStation, it's something that will probably be adopted more often because it's going to be across both builds. So that could be a good thing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on implementation as well. I mean, can we blow on this one? Is that gonna...
Sony was doing that on the PS4 one. They didn't need, yeah, they didn't need the air hole.
Yeah, look, I bid for it, man. I say why not? In this, I'll just read out the graphic for everyone who's not seen it. It says Xbox Wireless 2, it's direct to cloud, Bluetooth 5.2, has a rechargeable, swappable batteries, recycled materials with less resin. Don't know about that. Repair and disassembly. I'm assuming that it's easier to pull apart and fix, which is great. New modular thumbsticks improve longevity and continued build improvements. That's marketing bullshit speak. I mean, I've still got my cages still collapse in the Xbox controller. It's been an issue since day one launch of any of their controllers. But it is the best controller in the business. I don't think you can argue that.
No, you can't.
It's got approachability, engage and delight, lift to wake. So when you pick it up, it wakes up. Same ergonomics as Merlin, and I believe Merlin is their new Pro. So you might be right, Garuda, when you were saying in the green room that there might be a bit of change in its form factor. It does look slightly different.
I feel like that it might be just that image, but I feel like the form factor is ever so slightly different. It just looks a little bit different. I don't know what anyone else thinks in the chat, but I'm looking at that now, and I don't know if it's just the two-tone color that makes the grips look a slightly different shape, but it does seem like
different to me
as
well, mate. I agree.
They do look different.
Yeah, but they already had it perfect, man. So,
yeah, they did.
So
I don't know. I like the look of it, bro. It sounds good. It looks good. It's got the Elite D-pad by the look of it. Hang on a minute. They've moved the button. They've moved the middle button up, haven't they?
They have, yeah. That middle button's been shifted up. I'll put it on screen for everyone at home so you guys can check it out if you are checking out your screen.
Merlin is just the Xbox One wireless core controller. So
that means it hasn't changed form factor then.
Hasn't changed at all. I just checked it then. No.
Just looks slightly different though, right? I mean, it must be that lower grip pad, but yeah, it looks like it's straighter across the bottom, right?
Yeah, it does, but I think it's got textured grips by the look of that. It's got textured grips at the bottom, and I think the texturing on the white part is not textured. I think that part's smooth. And
right.
So thank you, the middle button's been... just says you can sue the government of America. So thank you.
Yeah,
for
they're getting sued. They're definitely getting.
Oh, they're going to get fucking sued hard. I can't wait for it.
Neither can I.
It's just like. I mean, listen, we're going to talk about this, and every podcast out there is going to talk about this, and this is going to be a topic of conversation for a long time, but it doesn't, I feel fucking terrible for Xbox behind the scenes. They would be in panic stations right now. I doubt that anything will come. I doubt they'll say anything publicly. There's too much leaked. How are you going to like damage? You can't damage control this in any way, shape or form.
I feel sorry for Phil, but I also... A lot of what we've read, and I know we'll touch on it shortly, all of the documents and the emails that I've read about with Phil Spencer behind the scenes very much speaks to how he really portrays himself in the media. And man, this dude, he's ruthless, bro. Don't let his nice guy persona make him seem. Don't let his kindness seem like weakness, bro. He is a ruthless dude. This motherfucker is out to take over, bro. Like he said, it would be an incredible career highlight to buy out Nintendo, bro. This dude, he is not stopping. Phil Spencer is the right man to lead Xbox, bro. Like 100%.
Yeah, Phil.
He's the man. He is the man. He is the man.
Here's the man. Look, I'm going to bring this one up on screen as well, and they got a roadmap to 2030, which obviously leaked as well. If you guys are checking it out, you can see it up on screen. Their roadmap to 2030 is identify a path to 2030 goals. There's a whole bunch of marketing speak. This would be a presentation, I imagine, that they gave the FTC. And again, if you guys are in the chat, we are just sort of going through this as it sort of breaks. So, you'll have to give us a little bit of leeway here because we're just sort of assimilating the information as we get it. Console business is the foundation. That's the first thing. The gaming devices in the past to 2030. That's something that's good to hear. Consoles are considered a key health meter for the brand and will continue to drive majority of revenue and subscribers. It's actually really good to hear them say that because there's been some back and forth about whether or not Phil is a Chad. Mad Fwaz in the chat says Phil is a Chad. Yeah, Chads are great. He says, consoles are considered key health meter. That's great to hear because at least we know that they're focusing on the console and they see that as their key indicator as to how they're doing. And if they see it as a key indicator as to how they're doing, it means they're listening to us. And we do know they listen. New endpoints are the path to 100 million members, which is what they're chasing. Unlocking a new off-console endpoints and improving the experience will substantially grow subscribers over the next 8 years. Are we going to hit 100, Pete? Do you believe it?
That is a massive call, but they're always going to overestimate. They're always going to push for the skies. That is a lot. I would thoroughly hope so. I think it's well worth it. It depends on how many people you can get coming over your console with games like Indiana Jones. When Call of Duty is exclusive on Xbox, if it ever becomes exclusive on Xbox, like they could do something with the campaign, not saying the multiplayer, but they can't do that anymore. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know, mate. I don't know. Things like Elder Scrolls, 100 million. How many of there now? 28?
No, they've hit 30 million.
They've hit 30. I think they
when was the last time we got numbers? We got the number at 28. Yeah.
We got a leak at the start of this week. This is where it all sort of started. We got a leak saying it was 30 mil.
Clear of 30 mil, over 30 mil. Yeah.
Yeah.
70 million in 8 years. So when does that put us to? Oh, that's a big trajectory. Look, I honestly don't know. If all their plans come to fruition and they buy Nintendo.
Yep. It depends on their acquisitions. If they buy
Warner
Nintendo,
Brothers,
they'll blow
Valve.
clear past 100.
They're not buying Nintendo.
They're never going to
are.
buy Nintendo. It's never going to happen.
They're never going to happen.
Warner Brothers.
Well,
still
ABK
is
had a
there.
higher
I thought
market
that
cap
deal
than
was dead.
Nintendo.
What was that, Grady?
Didn't ABK have a higher market cap than Nintendo? So why are we not suddenly being able to buy Nintendo?
All right, so here's the only way. Okay, so they're never buying fucking Nintendo. The FTC wouldn't let it happen. The CMA wouldn't let it happen. And regulatory boards around the world wouldn't let it happen. But the only way that they could slip that through, and they wouldn't get it through every single regulatory board on the planet, would be if they were to separate themselves as Sony tried to separate themselves from Nintendo and sort of push them as in they're not in the same market. That's the only fucking way, and it just wouldn't happen. There's no way they're buying Nintendo.
I don't think they're buying Nintendo.
No
Phil wants
way.
to. That's his career goal, man. He said it. So
I don't think they're getting to 100 million. I don't think they'll get to 100. That's a lot of people. It depends on how much integration they get into smart TVs. They're obviously pushing that as well. Next generation is going to determine a lot. They need to get a lot of this generation right. I think the building blocks are there for them to skyrocket next generation. I really do believe they're building that foundation that they need to do to elevate quickly. Whether that number is 100 million, I still think they might not reach it. But hey, you got to have goals.
To get close, it's true. Garuda, you reckon they'll hit it?
yeah, because just the reason I do, and even though I know it is a lofty goal. I mean, even just saying it and trying to contemplate it is overwhelming, and it seems like a pipe dream. But I do think they will, simply because it's clear, even from what Microsoft and Xbox have told us publicly, and also it's clear from the leaks that these guys are so all in, like no expenses are going to be spared. on this full steam ahead goal to make Xbox Game Pass the definitive place to play games. Like, they are leaving no stone unturned. The checkbook is wide open. Phil Spencer's got free reign to do what he wants to do, and he sounds like he's ruthlessly driven with intent behind the scenes. For him to even say behind the scenes that buying Nintendo would be my career highlight, and it's a matter of time before Nintendo sees that their future lies in being a third party and moving away from their hardware, shows that he's given this more than just a passing thought. Right? I'm not saying that I still think it's very unlikely that they'll buy Nintendo, but even without Nintendo, the acquisition targets are what's going to push that number towards 100 million. And no one, if they're talking about Nintendo, no one is anyone can get it. You know what I mean? Anyone can get it. Anyone can get that Xbox target put on them, and that's what's going to smash it through the roof with regards to getting to 100 million.
Determined on people like you, Gruder, that are Xbox fans that have then transferred over to PC and still keep up your Game Pass subscription because you know how damn good it is.
Yeah, it's just I'll never be out of Game Pass. It is so good that I can't even play, even with my line of work that allows me an even time roster. I only work 6 months of the year and juggling things. I can't even catch up on all the incredible content that I want to play.
Party Animals drops tomorrow. Lives of Pete dropped today. We're all still playing Starfield. We got Forza in a few days, basically.
And
right. So then if we're talking a push to 100 million members, then we're going back. We could jump back to the games that they're releasing. So Elder Scrolls 6, that's going to push a needle.
Huge. Yeah. And look, when this ABK stuff closes, and we know it's going to, that is gonna send the numbers through the roof.
Well, it definitely will now.
Right. Oh yeah, it will now.
How many does PlayStation Plus have? Don't they have like 60 million? I can't remember that.
No, I don't think so. Do they?
50 million? They've got a lot.
Yeah, they had 50 to begin with. I think they've dropped down to 40.
Well, they're not going to get any
low
more.
40s.
So
no, they're bleeding out subscribers like you wouldn't believe.
They are.
Wouldn't believe. Look, we'll move on to the controller becomes the hero.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's just how is the controller ever going to be the fucking, like, I understand where they're going with like cloud and all that sort of stuff and the controller becomes the hero, but it's a low barrier to, so that's not where their growth's going to be. And I want to talk about that later on. The cloud is not growth, man. Like there's no growth to be had in that cloud. Not with the numbers that they put up like today, where they believe it's going to be their biggest growth area. It's
not in
just
a first world country. It's just in a third world country where you the barrier to entry as far as the console is concerned is a pipe dream. That's where the cloud and just having a controller, they're not thinking about the Western market.
So what do you need if you've got a controller? What else do you need?
You just need a TV.
Internet. All you need is internet and TV. And let me tell you, even in a third world country, you're going to get better internet than what you get in Australia, a lot of parts of the US. But they've got no money. All they need to do is get the controller, and bro, they are in. That's another one towards 100.
In Australia. That is just garbage.
I mean, some parts. I said some parts have, and it's true. If you travel to a lot of third world, you go to Vietnam and stuff like that, bro. Their internet kills ours and stuff. It's crazy. But what all I mean is
get India on side. There are 1.2 billion people in India. We know it's a growing market. Okay, I would leave China aside because they're a communist country, but India are.
This is what I'm getting at, Pete.
Yeah, are a massive country with massive ambitions, and you could do it if you infiltrate that market and you do it well.
That's what they're talking about. That's what this controller is.
So what else? What else could you play a game on?
All it is, they're obviously going for the TV market.
Yeah, so let me. So if you could play a game on a phone, and the iPhone is releasing a phone with a chip in it that does ray tracing, how much of a hope in fucking hell do you think cloud has to compete with the growing or shrinking of the silicon? Like, it's not going to compete with that. There's no growth there.
Well, there's just so many people that don't care in that market.
It's diminishing returns. When you can have a phone and you can put it on a plan, and I'm sure everyone in India has like pretty close to new phones because they managed to get them into the hands of even the poorest people. Like, why is cloud going to be your biggest growth area? You've got like you basically got phones that are way more powerful than Nintendo Switches out there already.
Yeah, but I mean, if you install one game natively on your phone, you've just moved you've just used all your hardware, all your storage space. You know,
which is
these
why
people just want to pick up and play
software risk it. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to play Elder Scrolls anywhere else,
No.
Starfield anywhere else, Forza anywhere else. I mean, think of the mobile deals that they're going to be able to make with COD and things like that.
That's where you leverage your cloud, but cloud's not your growth. Like, that's not your growth. Game Pass is your growth, and you can put that natively onto a phone, and then going up against Apple and creating your own store, so you can natively download parts of a game and play the rest. What's up, Mr. Boom? Yeah.
Boom.
I just. Look, man, like, I don't see cloud being I tend to lean towards the side of Hargeet on this one. Like, the way that technology is advancing, like, every time cloud advances, technology's 2 steps ahead of it. And it always is going to be until we hit a point of, like, properly diminishing returns. And I just don't think that we're going to get there in the next 30 years. And I definitely don't think we're going to get there in the next 100 million subs. I don't see that growth coming from cloud. I can't. It's a good conversation.
It'll supplement those numbers, but it won't be the vast majority or the bulk of the push towards that 100 million. But it will definitely supplement it in those regions where the barrier to entry needs to be low.
Yeah, so you've got the S there for entry-level console buyers, which is already very, very cheap. It looks like they're keeping that skew, if the roadmap is to be believed, and I do believe it. And then for the people that even just want to try it out, they've already got a TV. All they need to do is buy a TV, and then they can become have a Game Pass subscription, and that's it. They can play all those games straight off their TV. I don't think it's going to be a huge number, but I think it'll definitely add to that number. I think your main growth area, is going to be PC. I really do. I think PC Game Pass is where you're going to get most of your subs over the next 5 years. I think that's where Microsoft is focusing most of their attention as well. And I think they need to do more.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the graphic on screen, or I posted in Discord for you guys, look at the graphic, look at the difference in growth that they're expecting and the flat line that we can see with console. They're sort of expecting consoles to hit around the 50 million mark. And for cloud to hit above that, it's probably about 110. Yeah, about 110 million mark. That's that. I just don't see that amount of growth in that short amount of time. Like, that's by 2030. I can't see it by 2030. If you're talking 4G QTV, Carlo, how you doing? Welcome, clowns. He's saying that cloud is the future. Yeah, it's the future, but it's the far-flung future. It's not by 2030. It's not 5 years from now. We're talking.
You never know. You never know. I mean, you got to test it out first. I mean, there's a lot of changes that are coming in. You're bringing in now something that when you say, okay, now the Xbox ecosystem is the controller. I mean, when the barrier for entry is that low, you are naturally going to see some massive increases. I think just because for the sheer fact that the price for entry into the ecosystem is so minuscule. I think you can't underestimate how many people will just pick it up because it's less than an impulse buy. I mean, how much is that controller going to cost for us in Australia? $100. So what, 50, 60 US dollars to just get into the ecosystem and play it on a device that you already own, so you don't have to outlay any more cost. I mean, in these countries, like I said, this is not targeted at the Western markets. This is targeted at some of those third world sort of places with large population growth who can't necessarily jump into the console or PC market. And I think that, I think Xbox knows that that's an untapped market, and you have to do something different to be able to harness those numbers. And I think, this could really push it further than what you think. That's just what I believe.
Having spent adding mobile Game Pass to the numbers, then I could see it.
Yeah, look, guys, I just got to quickly jump in and cut in. Yeah, sorry, Face 23 Brooklyn, man. I was saving until we sort of shifted the topic, but he dropped a few super chats, man. I really appreciate that, brother. Thank you. He's going to head back to work, so I'm going to read him out. Face 23 Brooklyn with the $19.99 $20 super chat. He says, biggest Xbox leak in history until 2030. No pro Xbox console going against the PS5 Pro. If a PS5 Pro comes out next year, not a good look for Xbox, in my opinion. Guess Phil wasn't lying when he said they're not doing a Pro. Yeah, exactly. And they have to compete. I don't think it's set in stone. Yeah. It's not set in stone. Like, I got to get through your super chats, but I'll just say I don't think it's set in stone, and we'll come back to that.
Face, what I'll say to that one, Face, just quickly, is that I think what Xbox is looking at as far as horsepower is concerned is that if you want more, there's PC. That's probably how they're looking at it. Because when you move to PC, and I know this because I just did that.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
But I'm playing my PC on my TV with my Xbox controller in my hand, and I've lost nothing. It feels like I'm playing on an Xbox. That's probably how Xbox feels about it.
No one wants that monstrosity in their living room. Face 23 Brooklyn with the $1.99 super chat says Xbox sales, Series S 75% and Series X is 25%. That's probably true. We don't know for sure though, Face 23 Brooklyn. We don't know for sure, but those numbers, that would probably be fairly close to the truth. Xbox couldn't sell 100 million consoles. You guys think they're going to reach 100 million subs? Exactly, my man. I don't know if they're going to reach 100 million subs. I think Pete's like pretty bang on with it. Like, it's good to have goals. I don't think that it's going to push that needle though. I'm
not saying yes they will, but I think it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. It's not a pipe dream for them. It's attainable if things go right. Definitely.
It's attainable if they drop hit after hit, and they need to drop hit after hit, but we haven't seen them do it yet.
They're going to.
Well, we hope.
Come on, have faith.
Well, my face is a little bit burnt out after the whole Xbox One thing. And 4GQ TV says all companies want the cloud as the future, forces sub-services and companies control it. Follow that one up in the chat for me, because I'm not 110% if I'm understanding. Force sub-services.
Force a subscription service that companies control. So essentially, having the cloud there, they want it because the cloud is
it's just like Netflix service. Basically. It's a subscription service that they will get monthly revenue from instead of having to wait for a software drop to get an influx of revenue.
It's basically just a passive income for them, set and forget. Yeah, and that is true. That's why they're moving. That's why most companies are moving to this model. But subs drop off quickly, as we've seen, if the content's not there on the service. But that's Netflix, what Xbox has done.
Disney Plus.
Yep. Exactly. The content has to be there, but Xbox.
The difference between TV and the console market is there's only real 3 players in the console market. Plus, you've got Ubisoft Plus and you've got EA Play, which are competitors in the marketplace. But I don't think they can compete with anything Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft will be able to produce. Just in terms of software.
Mm-hmm. EA is already combined with Game Pass anyway. Sorry to cut it. You jump in.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that differentiates it from, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and the myriad of other TV ones. So, yeah, you could argue that game developers or Xbox can have a better trajectory.
Yeah, and if you look at the big 3 of gaming, I think it's safe to say, really without argument, that Xbox with what they've invested into their gaming pipeline, that they've got the most. I'm not going to say quality because we can't say that until it's out. But they have the most quantity. They have the most content coming or available to deliver. They're going to have the most studios. They're going to have the most IP. So they're going to have the biggest chance of delivering a greater quantity of content. So they should be able to hold subs.
They haven't proven themselves yet, bro.
I know, but they've invested more than the other guys have invested, so that their pipeline is more consistent. Right?
Yeah, so consistency's been
a damn good start.
Yeah, it's been a serious issue, and it's not just. I mean, we could get into that conversation. I don't want to get too deep in it, but they have not proven that they can manage the studios that they have already acquired. And I know that there's a lot of guys in the chat that'll go at me after that, but like they haven't proven it. It's just not been proven. And I believe they can do it, and I think they will do it. And just judging by some of these emails in the background, which we will jump to, feels the right man for the job, as you said, Garuda. But again, they still haven't proven it. They've obviously got to work on their pipelines and onboarding new publishers and new studios. One thing that sort of popped up in this whole graphic as well that I had up on screen before was the fiscal year 28 is when they're talking about releasing Gen 10. So it says here, Gen 10, fiscal year 28. So we're looking at what, 2029 before we get a new console, a new generation.
That's what I called it. I called
That's
28.
too
for a
late,
new
in my
console.
opinion.
I don't think it is.
So what
They're going to be some damn
What's up,
old
Umbra?
hardware by that point.
What if PS5 brings out a Pro, and then you wait until
look, it depends.
2029? That's
Depends on the specs of the Pro, but Xbox is proven that they're doing their own thing now. They differentiate themselves from PlayStation.
Most of us have said that. By the way, the star of the show is here. I'm sorry to interrupt, but the star is here. So
Been here.
allow me to jump in and interrupt.
Go for it, brother.
Hang on, we got to do the old welcome to the show. Yeah, about Pete. Pete, continue, sir.
No. Let Umbra go, mate. I actually really wanted to get his takes on this. So,
Yeah, it's unfortunately some. Yeah. Yes.
what's with the dead air? So, Umbra, what do you think about the leaks?
The hell, Umbra.
I was waiting. I think he's having problems in the background with some stuffs. He's typing away. Yeah, look, I think if you can't wait till 2029, Pete, like they can't do that. That's just not going to happen. Like if PS5 releases a Pro and Xbox is
So
not
I wrote it in the chat, but I had to tell you guys here it's delayed. No, it's just really delayed. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Yeah, look, it depends on the specs of the Pro as well, Risk. That's what I was going to say, bro. Like, so everyone's saying there's going to be a PS Pro. Okay, fine. There might be a PS Pro. It depends on the specs of that PS5 Pro as well. How much benefit are they going to get from that? How much does... The PlayStation fans are always going to be PlayStation fans. I think the software that Xbox have exclusively coming down the pipeline can pretty much offset anything that PlayStation is going to do. You also got to factor in the economy at the moment. The economy at the moment looks like it's on a downward trajectory. That's why the entry-level S is so freaking good. It gets people into that ecosystem at a crazy low price. For what you get for the money, it's an amazing console. Yeah, look, we're going to have to see how it plays out. I don't think power always wins. It wins in demographics like us that are hardcore gamers that always want, the best visuals. But the PlayStation, 3, although like it was more powerful when they learned how to develop for it, but the 360 killed it in that generation.
Multiplayer sucked on that, man.
But
yeah, exactly. They were impossible to develop for.
Yeah, it was impossible to develop for, so that was something that held it back. But when you're talking, if you release a Pro now, it's going to be on the same ecosystem that the Pro already has, and it's easy to develop for. The developers know it. So they're going to leverage that power. And you can guarantee that PlayStation will leverage the marketing on having that extra power. And you can't wait till 2029 to be like, all right, now we're going to bring out a console that might match the other one.
But again, PlayStation fans, they don't have the ability to say, okay, I can get a PC that replaces my PlayStation and I can play all the same games day one. Xbox players have that option. That's why it's not as big a deal that Xbox doesn't release more power in their system right now. Because if you really want to, and I know it's a lot more expensive and convoluted and no one really wants to do it if they're hardcore console gamers and stuff, but you can just go and get a PC that can play all the same games as your Xbox does on day one without losing anything. PlayStation can't do it. PlayStation can't do that.
But that's fine. But that's not what you want to be telling your fan base. As our console's not good enough, go get a PC. That's not something that you want to turn around.
There's nothing wrong with having the option. It's an option that PlayStation gamers
It's
don't
good to
have.
have, but it's not something that you market to your fan base and say, hey, go get a PC because our console sucks dick. That's not what you want to do.
No. But you wouldn't say it like that. But what?
Of course you would say it like that, but that's what they're saying.
You would give them the option. You would say, look, our competitor doesn't have this option. You can go and get an Xbox, essentially, 4090 and just call it your Xbox and play all the same games. Like, that's what I'm saying. PlayStation can't do that.
And who's going to spare $7,000 in their pocket to do that? I mean, honestly.
I know that, but like I say, it's just options. Like you said before, the more options you have, the better. PlayStation can't do that. PlayStation can't do that.
Goddamn PC players, man.
Damn these PC master racers.
I'm not
So listen, I figured out what the issue was, right? So me being a dumbass, I'm listening to you guys on my Bluetooth as I'm getting here to the house. And as I plug in and put in my microphone and pull it over to me, I'm still listening to that Bluetooth. So I'm like, why am I behind? What's going on here? It's because I didn't plug in my regular headset to talk in the
in Discord.
Yeah. It's early, y'all. Forgive me. I worked overnight.
So listen, what we're talking about was, and you obviously heard us, was the Gen 10s coming in fiscal year 28, which will be, the Q1 probably or mid 2029. PlayStation releases a Pro. Let's say they do that in 2025. Can Xbox wait to release Gen 10? Can they release the same console again with no disk drive and compete?
I personally don't think so. And I've said this before. We talked about PlayStation releasing a Pro and Microsoft not doing so. I think it just sets a bad precedent to have the PlayStation have not only the killer games, right? Because the narrative will be that. I think Xbox has been on a roll lately outside of the Redfall incident. But to have the narrative of the greatest games and then on top of it, the most powerful console too, option-wise. Like, it's just not going to be a good look, I think, optically for Microsoft not to have a Pro model themselves. That's the way I look at it. Now I hear Garuda on the whole PC thing, but they can't message that because
they won't say that, but
they won't say it that way. But that'll be the but that'll be the message that people take from it. They don't have to say it, right? Like it's like when I talk to people and I tell them about this is off topic, but I can say something about racism. Well, yeah, that was racist. The person might be a racist. Well, they didn't say this. They don't have to say something very specific to be seen as that. You know what I mean? That's what people are going to see them as inferior, and they're going to see the Xbox as inferior because they're telling you, hey, go get a PC. That's just not the right messaging you want to send. So I do get what you're saying, but I think the way they're doing it now, I think is the smart way, where they're saying this is all part of the ecosystem. If you choose to do that, you can. But we have this more affordable Pro model console here, and even more affordable Series S, which
I agree to an extent.
I just think $50,
I just think it's a miss, bro, that they're not putting more power in this mid-gen. It's more of a slim to me than a mid-gen,
That's pretty much what it is. It's just a digital, I guess, slim, if you will. But that I'm a little worried about that too. But I think we do have to keep in mind that all of us, at least, even myself, I don't think any of this is set in stone. I think this is something that they had in the works. It doesn't mean that it's 100% certain to go through. It doesn't mean Phil and team are not going to change their mind and say, you know what, we do need a Pro model to compete with them and to make sure we're not left behind just optically. Maybe that might be the case. I don't know.
You would have thought that they would have had, all the specs on that already, because making a Pro console isn't a simple thing. It's a year-long process to get it right, to get it all together. So I would have thought we would have seen something already on that Pro console. So I'll put it this way. The Xbox has about a 15% gap to the PlayStation in terms of the power narrative now. PlayStation will need to jump up with their Pro to maybe 20%. That means they might have a 5%, power level difference between, the Xbox Series X now. Is that going to make that much of a difference?
No.
When we're getting Elder Scrolls, when we're getting Indiana Jones,
No.
like...
You are talking out your knees. Sorry. No,
it's
I'll
not,
say
bro.
this. I'll say this: those games, not only do those games have to land, they have to hit well, right? That's one thing. Two, Sony is not going to not have games coming out too. They're going to be dropping, as they like to say, bangers, right? So that's two. Three, you say that, but I look back at the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 era, and the power narrative was used to abuse and as a bludgeon against Xbox, if you all remember that.
I remember.
So I think, so I think a 20 to 30% increase over what Xbox is offering when they're already losing some head-to-heads now, absolutely will be a negative for Xbox. Yeah. I think optically it's not going to look good.
I mean, just put it this way: if you give an extra 5% power to the PlayStation 5, you are almost. And look, PlayStation's a great little machine. It'll lock 60 every day of the week. They get an extra 5% overhead in that machine. It'll lock 60 every day of the week, and the Xbox Series X will not lock 60 every day of the week because the tools aren't being used. Yes.
Except for their first party stuff will look really good, and the third party will just be like an afterthought for third party developers.
And the narrative will continue. And that's
absolutely,
they can't afford that. They have the opportunity at this point to get ahead of PlayStation, like they really do. They've got the studios, they've got the games, they've got the IPs, and at the moment they've got the machine. If they lose the machine is what drives everything. And I know that we're going to hear like ecosystem and all that sort of stuff, and cloud, and no, like the developers aren't going to use that shit. They're going to use what the biggest fan base is at PlayStation, and they're going to use those tools. They're not going to use Xbox's tools.
That's exactly right. That's a great point, Risk. Not only is the narrative going to look bad for Xbox, we already have conspiracy theorists, including myself. Why I probably played into it a bit. We're thinking, are they giving us the inferior version? Like, look at the whole BG3 situation. That alone was already made to a mountain out of a molehill. And PlayStation can have split screen, but Xbox can't because of the Series S. Now, take that and magnify it with the PlayStation Pro, whatever, being able to do 20% more, or even like you said, Briss, just 5% more, and everything is locked 60, where Xbox can't do it. That's a major strike against Xbox, and it's going to be used as a bludgeon in the media. You already know it.
I don't know. I think there's going to be enough pushback this time round. It's very different to the Xbox One generation, and I hear what you're saying that Sony's going to put out banger after banger. They did that under Sean Layden. I just don't see Jim Ryan doing the same thing. I think that we're seeing the Jim Ryan era, and I think it's just nowhere near as good. Whereas we are seeing Xbox, like if you look at their plan, yes, they need to nail them. There is no doubt about that. Starfield is a good start, but it's just a start. I don't know if the media is going to be as hard on Xbox as it has been in the past. I mean,
I don't know why you think
that. I know been, bro.
I know they are.
I have no idea why you believe that. Why you have so much faith in this media?
Yeah, there has been a little bit of a changing of the guard. The consumer-friendly things that Xbox has included into, has to be hitting home soon. And not only that, like I don't even know how many people go to the media and these legacy media sources for their news anymore. I really don't. You go to the people that you trust. So I don't know how much
the media
they have now.
Yeah, the media has definitely damaged, what they were. I mean, as far as how the gaming sort of public uses them, because now the credibility is just in question to the point that it's hard to even take them seriously anymore. So I think most people are just going to like-minded people who have similar interests in games and putting trust in them from there on their opinion of a game. I don't think there's much, stock that you don't put in these reviewers anymore.
You don't take them seriously. I don't take them seriously.
No, I don't.
But
I used to.
Yeah, but Jedi didn't take him. Yeah, and Jedi didn't take him seriously. But but the reason that IGN is as big as it is, and these media outlets are as big as they are, is they're not pitching to us. They're pitching to the casuals.
I think it's going to erode, man.
15 million people, if I'm not mistaken, correct? 15 million subscribers to them. Plus, they have even a buy-in option no, that's neither here. I'm not even going to go that direction. My thing is this, and Riskit is right. It's not going to affect us because we know better. We are in this. We're paying attention. However, the casuals, which is 75% to 25%, as you all mentioned earlier, from the people who own the Series S to the X, I'm going to count most of those as casuals because the more hardcore are going to go for the X, right? But the thing is that most of them are going to see the blurbs of IGN and go with that. Most of them are going to see the blurbs of a Game Informer and go with that, right? Because you get a GameSpot or GameStop, should I say? Or things of that nature. GameSpot, even like people are going to go to that, and these people have already shown a tendency to not be as forthcoming and fair, in my opinion, already. And I'm pretty sure most of the audience in the chat would agree. I just don't trust them to be like all of a sudden fair to Xbox if they lose the power narrative dramatically to the point of 20%. I just don't see them being positive to Xbox.
I just can't see it being 20% because Xbox has a 15% barrier now on the PlayStation. And I mean, it's just
but tangibly, it's not really showing. It's just not.
It's just not. Agreed.
Yeah, because I mean they changed like the way they develop at the start of the generation, and this generation is still very early. For the most part, Xbox has been winning. I agree. I thought it would have been coming.
Which way do you
out
mean,
more? There's definitely a lead to Xbox, regardless of whatever you say. I know it gets amplified whenever PlayStation 5 wins because the fact of the matter is that there is, that bias in the media.
Yeah,
but generally, most games perform better on Series X by about that 10 to 15% mark.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that one either. I'm not too sure of that.
I get it. I just think it's more roughly 50-50. And in first party, I think PlayStation's getting more out of less. I mean, it wasn't a very good look when Xbox's biggest game, and I'm going to go back to this, when Xbox's biggest game of the generation so far, and probably the most anticipated game of the generation so far in Starfield, even after multiple delays, still doesn't perform very well on the Xbox.
Yeah, but you're going into different territory there because that game was not. So that game was not built from the ground up for Xbox.
I don't know, but then you got Redfall, and it's just there's more examples.
But Redfall
PlayStation offers.
Yeah, so like
but
that's
as far
where
as
I'm
the
gonna.
optics concerned,
that's where I'm going to push back, and I get your optics. I understand what you're saying, but but the fact of the matter is that those games were not built for the Xbox Series X. And we haven't seen the first-party studios really lay down the gauntlet yet because we haven't seen a next-gen game built purely for the Series X. So I don't think that's an example that you could use. I, however, do agree with your point.
Just the optics. It's the optics, bro. That's the thing. And that's where, and coming back to the point about why we're speaking about this is that when Xbox loses the power narrative, they're already losing in some ways the power narrative despite having the better hardware on paper. But when they actually do lose the hardware narrative on paper,
it's going to get worse.
It's going to compound.
It's going to get worse. I would go back to Pete's and say I agree with Pete when he was saying that, that a lot of these games after patches and optimization, they actually do end up running better on the Xbox Series X. But I'd say on launch, it's 50-50. So I think there's a little bit of wiggle room on those two.
I look at it both ways when it comes to that, right?
The PlayStation console because the PlayStation console has more consoles out there. They're going to get more sales on it.
Yeah.
And imagine they start prioritizing them when the PlayStation has a 20% overhead over the Xbox. That's the point we were saying. You see what I mean? Like it'll be even worse. And just to add to that,
but they're never.
I'm just assuming 20%. I'm just throwing it out there, right?
20% overhead.
Yeah, I don't know how the number might be, Pete. I'm just saying it's going to be a better number. It's going to be higher. That much is in for sure.
Say 5%.
Let's just say 5. Let's say a locked 60. That's good enough.
Yeah, we'll do
but what I was going to say though is I hope I didn't lose the point, but.
Sorry, that was. God damn it! It's
5%. I'll give them 5. Let's say 5. Hell, I don't care. Whatever it is that gives them a locked 60, where Xbox can't do consistently, is going to be used negatively. But my thing is too. Oh, I had it until we started going back and forth. I forgot what I was going to say.
The 60 FPS. Yeah, with that, it's only going to get worse. Is where you were going to go, and what you're going to say is that the media is going to stomp them. Then at that point, the narrative is like you're dead in the water, and the reason
that was one.
Yeah,
that was one, but it was another thing too, where you all had mentioned. That's what it was. You had talked about how you agree with Pete on the performance after patches and so on and so forth. Problem is you have as the old saying is, you have the only one chance to make a first impression.
Yes.
Most people aren't coming back to these games way later and like, now it's better on Xbox. They're going to play it right initially and then give you their initial impressions and move on. That's just the generation we're in. There's very short attention spans. So many excellent games coming out back to back. Who's going to sit around and wait for patches? You know what I mean? Most people are not going to do that, especially casuals.
I tend to agree, Pete, with you that
said FTC representative just tweeted the FTC was not responsible for uploading Microsoft's plans for the games and can't read the rest.
Who was
They're trying to escape culpability so they won't get sued.
Who was that?
It came out of their website. It came literally off their. It's literally off their website. I pulled it from their website. I downloaded the whole lot. It's all from the FTC. So how the fuck,
by the way,
how are they not responsible?
Gallery, by the way, says the Pro Leaks are saying the PS5 Pro will be 18 teraflops.
Yeah, I heard that too. Of course they're saying that.
That's 50% better. It won't be 5% better than the Series X. They won't release that. And I don't think they would release only a 5% better console either.
18 teraflops. That is just the most ridiculous figure. Remember when the
$2,000 console
was coming out?
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. I mean, what
I
a
remember
joke.
that.
You cannot believe anything.
That's true. I will agree with you there. Like, we heard that before. 30 teraflops. We remember that before.
A3 and all this other nonsense.
So true.
Yeah. That is true. We're gonna go. Okay.
Holy shit! Gotham Knights is coming to Game Pass.
Yeah, crazy good month coming up right here. All these releases. Sorry, Risk.
Thank God I bought that fucking trash game. You ruined my night. Look, we do need to move on next topic, but I think we can all agree that we don't agree.
No, I agree with Pete that Xbox is going to lean into the fact that they've got a better, bigger, and more consistent roadmap coming. They're leaning on their games.
Yeah, and that's not going to be enough. It's just not going to be.
I don't know. It's Nintendo's. They beg to differ. They got good games.
That's an argument.
Doesn't matter.
That's an argument.
I get where you're going, but Nintendo are a different entity altogether.
Yeah, fair enough. They might be Xbox soon.
I mean, it's every time when Nintendo brings out first parties, they're typically, as the children say, bangers. And you can always rely on Nintendo to give you a great game. They do it every time. You can't say the same thing about Xbox. And yes, Abdul in the chat, I saw you ask, am I still for consolidation? No, I'm fucking not. It's bad for the industry. You guys gotta chill the fuck out. Listen, I do want to move on to, I've zoomed my screen in so crazily that I can't actually press any buttons. So you will have to just listen to me stall once I flip to the next topic, which I usually have laid out in the topics, but unfortunately this week, today, I didn't have that. So I'm just sort of jumping in and out of stuff. And now I've clicked on the email. We're good to go.
I could always sing while you do that. I'm just, throw it out there.
I prefer the sound of my own voice if I'm going to be honest.
Narcissist.
But what I am looking for is the email that we got from Phil Spencer about 2022, and I cannot find that email, but I'm scrolling to look for it. We did have it in the topics. Someone posted it. Yeah, found it. Cool, wicked. So Phil dropped an email. Oh, this has been leaked. This is an email going to Matt Booty, Sarah Bond, Jarrett West, Tim Stewart. Tim Stewart, I think, is the CFO. Subject games, importance high. This is May 7th, 2022. Said, with the news that Starfield is going to miss holiday, not broadly communicated yet. Let's let Jamie manage that. I like how he handballed that shit. Still not a ton of clarity on the launch date of Redfall. Oof. And Stalker 2 development, so impacted by the war in Ukraine. I feel we're in a huge hole with our games lineup, both for platform marketing differentiation and our Game Pass content. We keep talking about a big AAA keep talking about a big AAA a quarter in the service, and it feels like we are likely going to go through a gap of almost 16 months between big exclusive launches on our platform. Halo Infinite being our last on December 8th, 2021. This is really a disaster situation for us, given we've all invested in content across the studios and our Game Pass content fund. We need to learn from this and build a plan going forward. In terms
That's an old email.
It is an old email, but this is very telling to how Phil operates behind the scenes. In terms of learning, I think we need to get much better at overall portfolio planning on our games with real honesty on dates. Doing this from memory from summer 2021 through December 2021, we had an amazing lineup of games with Flight Sim to console, Psychonauts 2, Age 4, Forza. I hate how they counted Age 4. You could have released that in 2022, not just before fucking stuff. Anyway, Forza Horizon 5 and Halo.
Mm-hmm.
There were good third-party games in that time frame as well, like Back 4 Blood. We set a very high bar in 2021, they did, on quality and pacing of content, which was awesome to see. And we thought they had it, but they didn't. But to come off that year with no big exclusives launching in 2022 is a portfolio planning miss that we can't afford. If we need to delay launches, understanding there is a financial impact to that, to create more regular beats for us, we need to do that. So we've been talking about how they might delay games to just fit them in. He mentioned it.
I reckon Hellblade's one of those anyway.
Yeah. We have to all understand that the situation we are in now is a failure of our planning and production execution. Now, let's roll up the sleeves and get planning on the next 2 years of games. First, we need to build an accurate list of new game launches that are coming for the next 24 months with expected dates. For now, I don't want to litter the list with content updates or seasons for existing games. We need launches. Let's build this across first party, second party, and third party looking at Game Pass launches. I think we're going to see that our next big new game launch is Redfall, hopefully. I'm not aware of Stalker 2 dates, but I saw that the studio is being delayed indefinitely. How does he fucking not know that? He's like, I saw it on Twitter. Are there other games we can get? I know the overall portfolio is fairly light from third party, but let's dig. We also need to get some clarity on our internal game launches. I'm setting this now as I feel real pressure for the Tamarind and how we're going to show up in terms of dates. It will be very obvious to the community with both our lack of updates on so many games and lack of clarity on almost everything in the show that we are out of position. I need us to work on this as leaders. We've dealt with the most difficult situations before. We'll do it again. I'm frustrated by where we are, but we'll get through that. Most important is building a winning plan. Let's get on that. Like, that is an email from a fucking leader.
It is, man.
Yeah.
It is, man. If you didn't think Phil Spencer was the man to lead Xbox, now you do.
Yeah, when I read that, and like most of us, it was like, yeah, see, that tells us that Phil gets it, right? For sure. And the first thing I thought was, one of the first things I thought outside of this and them talking about the Nintendo situation was like, damn, Phil is not only is he on it, because he gives off this little facade when you see him out in the open, like, oh, nice, doopa. No, Phil is kind of a shark. Yeah, he's kind of a shark now. We were starting to learn that Phil, not only is he like me, Risk, when it comes to acquisitions.
You mean he can't sing?
He might, you know. Oh, if he's like me and can say, oh, he must have a voice of an angel. But I'm just saying, like, and look at Pete hating in the chat. I see you, Pete. Even when I bigged you all up, I saw that. But even beyond that, like he's more like Drawn TJ, actually. If you look at them talking about getting Nintendo, I'm like, sheesh. Mind you, by the way, they mentioned Valve too. So not only Nintendo, but he was talking about Valve as well. So one of the two they were already eyeing. We thought Valve, if you all remember.
Warner Brothers as well, Umbra, your studio, bro.
That's right. Yes,
our
sir.
Studio. We've been talking about Warner Brothers since day one.
Have we not? It's been like a year or two now, actually, that we've been talking about it.
And we just missed out, dude. Like,
missed out.
They were hunting down Warner Brothers. And what if they bought the fucking movie studios like we've been talking about? That would have been magnificent. But we got ABK instead. Fuck.
And that's the thing that kind of annoys me, because I think me and Pete, I'm not sure if you said it too, Riz, but we were all kind of like, I'm not that excited about the ABK thing versus what I felt they could have gotten. Mm-hmm. And because of the ABK situation, has held them off on getting other things we wanted. Warner Brothers, now we know, has been a casualty of that. So I'm kind of sad by that. But I mean, I can't complain. You got crazy good talent, crazy good IP coming with ABK. It's like looking a gift horse in the mouth, right? I'm just impressed though, by Phil's actual leadership when you actually see him behind the scenes. Because again, he gives us all that nice guy facade, but Phil ain't that nice. If you read some of this stuff.
I don't think Xbox or Microsoft thought the acquisition would take as long as it has. I don't think that they thought they had to go through the legal hurdles that they've had to jump through. Just unfortunate.
Yeah, look, I would be better off. That's an interesting comment. That shows us Phil gets it. He's kind of a shark. Yet no games for a year plus, but I guess I'm a pony. Come on now.
What's that got to do? What's that got to do with anything?
What's that?
Look, I believe that the turnaround
What's that
is happening.
poniness got to do with it?
We always said seriously, that Starfield was going to be the start. And I mean, if you just look at the last few days, you got Lies of P yesterday. I'm still playing Starfield. We get Party Animals tomorrow. We get Forza in a couple of days.
We just got Sea of Stars. Like that's a good game and highly rated game as well.
Game. Not even a good game. It's great. Literally.
I know Gotham Knights got slammed, but Gotham Knights is coming in a couple of weeks. Like it's ridiculous.
Trash.
The roadmap going
Party Animals.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But to address Nate Dogg there, Nate Dogg had to regulate. The thing is, Nate Dogg, them having shortcomings when it comes to game releases does not mean he's not a shark. Those two have no correlation. Him getting us and understanding that they have to have these games. We all take things out of context to try to make a point in that. It's not the right way to go about it. We already know Xbox, the reason why they're in the situation they were in is because they didn't have the funding and backing by Microsoft. Now that they do, you're seeing his vision come true. You're seeing it come to, as Boom like to say, fruition. So you can't hold off them not having the funding against them here in this situation. There's two different things here. Now, though, that you see them having the funding, you see Phil's fangs come out, so to speak. So, yeah, they may not have had those games, but he notices that, and he mentions that in this email, and he's talking about what they need to do, which is a lot of what we all have been saying they need to do. So it's not like he's like oblivious to it. That's the point we're making here.
And then he said, go out and get some third-party games. We got nothing for Game Pass. Go hunt something down. Like he sent the troops out.
Yep, and look what they've done. And look at this year. It's been a crazy good year for Game Pass.
He was right, though, where he says the overall portfolio is fairly light from third party, but let's dig. He knew that if you have to get onto those third party deals early before they've signed deals with the with Sony and stuff like that. And so by the time last year, exactly. Yeah, I'll just call it as it is before he signs the deals with Sony. But by the time Phil realized that first party was in such a shit fight, it's almost, he says, like, it's almost too late to get some of these third party games. Like, and he knew that. He's acknowledging these things. He's not trying to sugarcoat it. He's not an idiot, and he's not trying to sugarcoat any of this stuff,
Exactly.
He's identified exactly what needs to happen. He's taken ownership of it, and he's showing leadership. You're right, Umbra. He's showing that he gets it. So if you had any doubt about Phil Spencer being the right man to lead Xbox, surely that's gone now.
And further to go to your point, Garuda, like we're talking about the past here when we look at these emails. You can look at what we've had already this year alone with Game Pass and the roadmap that they've given us this past June when we saw their conference.
That's right. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. They have grown.
That's right. It's coming.
From 5 first-party studios to 30 in the space of a couple of years, and most of those studios had tied up previous contracts and deals with Sony and other publishers. They've been tied up in legal battles. Man, this stuff takes time. It's a mess behind the scenes. We all had concerns about whether the Xbox management was going to be able to take on all these studios, all these massive publishers.
Those concerns are still real. That's the thing. Those concerns are still there. But when he said,
that's a massive job.
But when he smartly put in there that if we need to delay games, financial hardship notwithstanding, that's a very clever, shrewd move. That's holding something in your back pocket for that time when, and it's also giving those developers more time to work on that game. They're going to get more polish in when you've delayed a game past a launch where it could launch, past the point where it could launch. And you're just going to give
kind
those
of keeping the
developers
blowtorch on them too. He's saying we'll give you time, but hey, it's going to cost us money. So So like we're keeping the pressure on. He's remember when we were all saying, is Phil Spencer and the Xbox team cutting these developers too much slack? Are we giving them too much freedom? Now he's saying, yes, you have the freedom. We're going to cut you slack with the budget and time for these games to launch. But however, he's putting that caveat in there. It costs money.
Yeah.
He's still keeping them on their toes. Right, he's saying we're going to give you the time to flourish and become and create what you want in the time span that you need to make it great. But hey, it's costing us as well. So
just to throw this out there. Just throw this out there as the last thing, and I want to let P get his chance. But just to throw this out there, not only is he saying that, right, but where would you go to have such freedom as a creator? And knowing that you're going to get the full backing, at least a large backing from the higher ups at Microsoft to take care of you and get your vision out there as a developer. Like, you're not going to get that at Nintendo or Sony. They're just, for one, they don't have the budget to do it. And then now that's not to say that they need to do it. Microsoft has kind of created this hole for themselves, right? They didn't have a lot of the, like Riskit said, I do agree that, and I've said this before, I've gone on record saying that I think Sony happens to manage their games better. I think Microsoft is getting there though. And I think that with Phil having the giving them the leeway to say, we're going to allow you to make a mistake and get this out when you need to get it out. But they don't have indefinite time, but they're saying, hey, we're going to be there with you. We're going to be, patient to allow you to get your vision out there. We know it's going to cost. I think that matters a lot too. And I think if you're a developer hearing that and you know you have that kind of safety blanket, I think that has to matter in some way, in a positive way, personally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think Microsoft have this uncanny way of stealing defeat out of the jaws of victory. They started off this generation so well. They had the power narrative going on their side. They had good games coming out. And then 2022 was just a massive letdown. And Phil knows, we all know that can't happen again. If they need to delay, they need to get their roadmap right. I do believe that they have given that leeway to these developers because they needed to. It was pivotal. This period of time coming forward now after Starfield is pivotal. They need to get everything in right. They need to get all their ducks in a row, and they need to come hard now because Sony has nothing for the foreseeable future. Spider-Man doesn't look that good. For all intents and purposes, Starfield is the game that they intended it to be, and the roadmap is looking good, but they need to continue this going forward.
What do you mean Spider-Man doesn't look that good?
It doesn't.
Well, I
just
think
it's the same.
it looks good, and I
You all don't think it looks that good?
It looks all right. It doesn't look
there's
generational leap or anything.
And a lot
No,
of
not generational, no.
not a negative narrative out there at the moment. Personally, I think Insomniac don't miss, and I think the game's
I don't think they miss either. I'm with you on
I
that.
also think they play it pretty safe though. Insomniac's
I
a very
agree.
safe studio.
I kind of agree with you there. I will give you that. But I will agree too that I think they happen to have that. I think they got the recipe down to a science now, just as far as how they deliver their games.
They do, but even their own fan base is sort of saying, hey, we're getting a little bit tired of this same old. You know, those comments are out there, bro. You know, they
say it, but
Insomniac
I mean,
plays
we
a very
don't
safe
see
game.
it.
I haven't seen any of those guys. The comments that I get is like, we got Spider-Man. Like, that's the comments I get. I don't get this like, Spider-Man looks all right.
There's ponies out there who are saying it looks little bit the
Are
same.
they? You mean maybe they're just PlayStation fans? I don't know if they're ponies necessarily.
Oh, well, that's not a pony. They would be.
Yeah, that's probably just the PlayStation.
They're all ponies. Bro.
Well, see,
Stable
like the
dwellers.
ponies, I differentiate the stable dwellers, the hooved hooligans. but my
The
thing,
hooven
though, I
heathen.
think the heathen hoovens. But no, like, but yeah, like my thing is, I have seen some saying like, hey, this is the same old, but does it really matter at the end of the day when they're still going to sell like 20 million with that game and these people are still going to buy it? I kind of like they might say that, but they're still going to buy it.
Yeah, they're going to buy it.
Yeah,
but my thing is, like I said,
I'll buy it. I'm gonna buy it.
I'm definitely
does
buying
nothing
it.
for me. No, it does nothing for me.
And some people
personally.
like that. I get it. Some people don't care for them like that. I get it. So, but me, I love Insomniac. So I'm definitely.
I just don't think PlayStation's doing anything. They're not taking those risks that they used to take. They have a certain formula that they know works,
100%.
and it's offering me nothing as a diverse gamer who likes to dally in different genres.
But are they
And
even using that same type of game, that Sad Dad Sim now? I mean, we're seeing a lot of games of a service
not
game
really.
come out of PlayStation now.
all these games,
creative,
besides
the creative vision. No, I was going to say the
Spider-Man
creative
2 and
vision
God
that
of
you're
War
talking about.
Ragnarok.
No question.
Yeah,
I agree.
No,
with you.
it's not there. God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2, the last two third-person over-the-shoulder action-adventure games that have come out, were in development before the business strategy changed to 60% of the budget going to live service games. These are the very end of the PlayStation 4 era type games, and moving forward, you're going to see the Jim Ryan games, and we already have, and they've disappointed the fan base so far. So honestly, like Pete said, Xbox has an overwhelmingly amount of massive IP, and the roadmap's looking so much more diverse and just better generally, that they're going to rely on that a lot more, because PlayStation's offering is just not going to be the same as what it was.
But yeah, if they lose the power narrative, they're fucked. Look, we do.
Yeah, it's not going to be good.
I just don't think so. I really don't think so. I think that we're moving forward from that. If they're able to hit a stable 60 for all games, I might change my mind on that.
Yeah.
I will leave that open.
And
That
if
is
you wait for the Digital Foundry, like it'll be Digital Foundry all over Twitter. It'll be Twitter Foundry. For the foreseeable future, it'll be Lock 60.
It's going to be
Lock 60,
unbearable.
it will be unbearable. I will delete my Twitter.
Me too.
We do. I won't do that. I love it. We do have to move on to the next topic. Well, it's the same damn topic, but some more stuff about this topic. The leaks, man. But I'll read out Jax's super chat with a $2 super chat. Thanks, Jax82. You're a champion. He said, could this generation go beyond 8 years? Certainly seems that way, doesn't it?
Fuck, I hope not.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I actually said that on a past podcast. I said that I don't think this is only going to be an 8-year thing. I don't think it's going to be. It's going to go longer than that. I think.
Well, we got to have
at least.
We got to have pros.
Yeah.
We got to have
pros because we got to take those kneecaps away from Pete. That's one.
Well, I would argue that the leak suggests that you guys both owe me your kneecaps. So that was my argument.
I've got a nice
updated controller and a new slim console is not a pro controller.
It's a refresh. That's what we said. But I'm already polishing. I've got a nice mahogany shield frame ready to like mount Pete's knees. So it's there. It's on the wall. I just need him to shave them and moisturize them for me, and we'll be good.
Moisturized and ready.
Look, we'll move on to the next thing, and I'll just drop this into the Discord chat for you guys as well, so you can see what I'm looking at, and then I'll flick it up on screen for you guys at home. They've got a bit of a roadmap going forward, which is pretty interesting. Now, we are by no means insiders at all, but you occasionally will hear things, and a lot of this lines up with some of the stuff that we've heard. And this is pretty interesting to me, and it is the future of gaming in my estimation, and it is where we need to go with gaming next generation. And I'm glad to see that Xbox also thinks so too. Next generation of gaming is powered by AI and machine learning, and so at the bottom you'll see they've got established projects within Microsoft Gaming in green. Research and proof of concept is yellow, and I don't know what fertile future ideation means. It means we're talking about it. But game performance, super resolution, deep neural network. So they're working on AI handling the super resolution behind the scenes. That's something, and this will all be within DirectX. So this is really, really interesting. I just sort of wanted to throw this out there. Frame interpolation, that's in fertile future ideation, and I don't know about frame interpolation. I don't think that that's a great tech, or it's not at the point where it's something that we need, that I would want to see within. I think it's in vain to cloud gaming, where they can just fill in frames. That's going to beef up your latency like out of control. They've got xCloud latency compensation down the bottom there, but that's it. Frame interpolation has not done good things just yet. If you're going to start talking about NVIDIA, I swear to God, I'll blow my computer up. But
I'm going to talk about NVIDIA, right? It's happening, bro. Frame generation is a game changer, and there are things to mitigate the latency now. It's just that consoles aren't going with the superior tech. They need to get rid of AMD and go with DLSS 3 and get frame generation, because frame generation is essentially free frames, and they work.
They're not
just
free.
Work.
No, that's
yeah,
the
you
thing.
asked
They're
Todd
not
Howard,
free.
they just work. They are.
16 times the frame interpolation.
They've like I say, they've got programs to mitigate that latency. Like I'm using it every day, man, and it makes a massive difference. And
You've also got a 4090, bro.
No, I don't. I don't have a 4090.
Well, whatever you've got, it's not going to be capable on these consoles, bro. It's just not possible. You cannot. The benefits you will get will not be offset by the latency that you're going to get out of it.
Yeah, the thing is that so AMD's software solution for frame interpolation or frame generation or frame aberrations or whatever the fuck you want to call them, like they require the game to run at 60 to get those frames in there, and so its cost doesn't outweigh its benefits, if I could put it that way.
Yeah, that's what sucks about AMD's solutions to upscaling and things that the consoles use. This is why I'm banging on about this NVIDIA stuff, because now that I'm sitting here and I'm literally testing both solutions, FSR and how we keep saying, one of the tools that Xbox has at its disposal to get the resolution up and get some free performance so that we can keep the frame rate high and reconstruct this resolution is, and we're not using FSR2 and stuff, but I'm looking at FSR2. It doesn't really do that much. FSR sucks compared to NVIDIA's solution of DLSS. And that's why I just say that I would love to see the consoles move in a direction of NVIDIA, because their upscaling tech is just so much better.
It's very heavy on the GPU, and it won't be able to do it.
Yeah, fair enough. There might be reasons why you can't, but if people are out there thinking that FSR is going to be this silver bullet that's going to help consoles, FSR2 on all games.
No, it's a tool. It's a tool, and we heard from Digital Foundry that FSR3 isn't going to be capable on consoles. They're looking at that for the next GPUs that they're releasing on AMD right now. So forget about that if you guys are thinking it's going to be a magic bullet. But it is a tool, along with VRS, along with all these other things that they've added into the console that will, hopefully, once we get these new engines and stuff, be able to push out a solid 60 at and upscaled 1440p. That's my hope, anyway.
Yeah, me too, bro. Me too. I never would have moved to PC if that's what I got. If I got what they said they were going to give us, I would never have.
You would never have betrayed us. Otherwise,
never.
That's what you're trying to do. Okay.
Yeah. And he continues to betray us with NVIDIA talk constantly.
You also continue to invite me on your show.
We're on AMD over here, boss. We are AMD in this family.
AMD.
We don't take kindly to your taps around here. Your NVIDIA taps.
You get on out of here now.
I just want to add that while it may say 4K at 120 FPS on the Xbox box, it says 8K 120 FPS on the PlayStation box. Look, Chris, so who lied more? Jim. Creator efficiency, AI game testing. So this is something that's really interesting. So you'd be running simulations. Forza 8 is doing this already. So they have something very, very similar where they overstress tracks to see where there's CPU bottlenecks by running AI simulations. Really clever stuff. So that's already in research and proof of concept, and Forza Motorsport is using that. That's really interesting to sort of see. Procedural content generation. You've got to remember, this is all through AI and ML, which is machine learning. If you don't know what AI is, you probably shouldn't be in this chat. But it's artificial intelligence. So that's pretty interesting. Look, if you don't know, Horizon Forbidden West, most of their maps are procedurally generated. So what they'll do is they'll lay down a procedurally generated map, and then they will curate the content within that map. So you'll find a lot of games that you don't think are procedurally generated or have procedural generation within them do. So this is really exciting if they start to use AI to further improve this. Physics in inverse kinematics. I don't know what the hell a kinematic is. I'm assuming it's a cutscene. I'm kidding. So I'm not assuming it's a cutscene. No one laughed.
I laughed.
Riskit, stupid. But physics here, this is something I've wanted to see within gaming for a long, long time. What's up, UK lad? And this is something that I think is the next sort of step. So when we start to see, we've got ragdoll physics, the physics that we've been dealing with in gaming for such a long time now. they haven't really changed. They haven't pushed the envelope. It's always about people talking about graphics. It's always, fidelity, it's frames. But I want to see the physics take a next step. I do like item permanence. Yeah, that's I think is the next area that we can sort of evolve in, and it's good to see that they've got a research in that. All right, here's the one, safety and toxicity. So I've been deleted from Xbox, so they've obviously been doing their job. But they've obviously got their report feature coming in, so we're seeing that. Personalization and discovery. That's great for devs, the discovery, so that's good to see. Support services, I need them. So live ops, this one is a little bit, this one sort of bothers me a bit. I guess they're a business, we're going to remember, but engagement and retention management and then monetization improvement. Oh, doesn't that make you worried? Just a little bit? They're going to use AI and machine learning.
I thought that would be a point of contention risk when I saw the AI thing. I was like, I wonder how that's going to carry over. Right. But I'm guessing that's just more of on the technical side of things. And I think it's going to be to the benefit of whatever they're trying to push here, because as we've seen, the AI stuff that they're doing now is insane. And I know Microsoft has put a lot into the whole ChatGPT thing. I'm only imagining what positives we can get out of that. And I don't know enough of this right here, because to me, this little outline right here doesn't really tell us enough. We're just kind of seeing live ops, player services, creator efficiency. That doesn't really tell us what we'll get with this next gen thing. So I just wonder how that's going to play out and how they're going to use AI when it comes to this type of stuff. I see the codecs and everything like that. I just wonder how it's going to be utilized.
And what they're going to do with it. Is it going to be like Amazon, where like you say in a party, or like your phone where you say in a party, man, I like that game, and next minute you've got 50 messages saying this game's on special. This game's on special.
We spoke about this the other day, Riskit. We want the next advancements in, software to really be using machine learning for all that background stuff. So you can offload it to the cloud using AI. So you can have like all the systems working in the background. Say they struggled with the police in Cyberpunk. Maybe you could program it in AI, offset it so it's not so CPU intensive, and improve the performance of the game like that. I'm not sure who pointed out in the chat, but it was a great point. A lot of this stuff just infuriates me because we have DirectX 12 machine learning in the Series X, and it's not being
mesh shaders, all this other sort of shit.
Yeah,
it's
mesh shaders, VRS.
Even by Xbox's first party, it hasn't been used.
Yeah.
When are we going to see it at the very end of the gen?
When VRS is used in games like Doom, you see the performance benefits you get from it. And it's frustrating to me because I do believe that the Series X is a great console and they're just not pushing it to anywhere near of its capabilities at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah, and look, so mesh shaders and machine learning there's stuff that needs to be built in. I mean, not so much machine learning; you can still use that out of DirectX, but mesh shaders, that stuff that needs to be built from the ground up. And as you so succinctly pointed out, Garuda, and I know you get salty about them not using that stuff, but as you so succinctly pointed out, they were building other games for other systems, like they had other contractual agreements. We haven't seen the first party build a game from the ground up. Now, Forza probably Motorsport 8 is the first technical showcase we're going to see for the console. And that's 3 years into the gen.
And you're seeing ray tracing on track at 60 FPS, so there you go.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, it's different in a racing game. I'm not going to lie. Not all games are as enclosed as a racing game is. I don't think you're going to get that in open world games, but it's definitely a start. And once first party starts to learn it, they can then push out that information to the rest of the developers of how they got there. And it is kind of a snowball effect. And it's always why we see incremental change from the start of the generation to, what you see at the end.
Yeah. And it's always something to say to point out that Microsoft kind of leads the way. They don't get enough credit, I think, when it comes to a lot of the innovation they come up with. So this could be something that's really innovative. Apps, they really don't. And we all know it. But I wonder how this will play off, by the way, into something like first-person shooters. What do you all think? Like, could that possibly play into that somehow? Like, we know what Forza is going to matter with racing, but that's kind of unique, like you pointed out, Pete. So how would it work if something like maybe a first-person shooter I wonder, because they're talking about matchmaking and things like that. So it's definitely going to be, they're definitely talking about multiplayer aspects. How does that fit into that is what I'm wondering.
In matchplay,
I don't know.
matchmaking based, yeah.
Like I don't like I would prefer it how it was in the old days, where one game you feel like you're a god, one game you get your butt kicked in, one game you're on even terms. I think that they try and make it so you're on even terms at all time. I would just say what they're trying to do with that Umbra is just make it everyone like more points of difference. So they would say they'd add your death counter, they'd add all these other factors, and then they'd get you a match as close to how good you are as possible. I don't like that, because every game then ends up feeling like really sweaty. Yeah,
it's a version of the levels. It's like level scaling in games. Like, it just makes it so boring if everybody's on the same skill set and same playing field. Like, that's why I hate level scaling in games. Like, you go away and level your character up to level 37, so all the enemies are level 37. Like, that's boring. There's no dynamism to anything you do. Like, that sucks. That's boring,
Before I forget, like what I was going to say before, I don't think this is why I was saying before, I don't think I mind why PlayStation 5 is going to have a Pro model, because it will bring it closer to that Xbox. And on your point, Riskit, yeah, mesh shaders aren't being used because the PlayStation doesn't have them. But when the PlayStation does have them, because they're most likely going to have them on their Pro console, then maybe they'll be implemented more. Maybe, they'll have VRS implemented more, and they will be more on a direct comparison with the X, and so we can see these tools being implemented for once.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the other thing as well, is you got to remember that there's a lot of DirectX tools, and a lot of these tools are DirectX, and they're not available on the PlayStation, and that is a reason why we wouldn't see them used. So there is
parties, at least, yeah,
there is that too. But man, like, yeah, again, I'll go back and say, if they don't keep the power narrative, they're going to have a tough time. You're in for a real rough time.
Okay. We still don't know there's going to be a PlayStation 5 Pro. I know you guys push back against that, but every time we hear of a PlayStation 5 Pro, it ends up being a slim model or, a different spec of the same system. With the chip shortage at the moment, and I know that Sony cut a new deal and they're making 7nm chips now to be put into their next consoles. But
there's no chip shortage now. They're pretty good.
Yeah, there's still a pretty hefty delay. Bringing out a brand new console is no easy feat. It takes, a good 18-month process. But look, we'll see what happens.
I mean, it's been enough time for them to do that, just to say, but I don't know. We'll see. I feel like where there's smoke, there's fire, and that message, that leak, if you will, whatever you want to call it, that came from who was that guy? Not Tom Warren. And what's that other guy's name, you guys? He has that Insider
Sales?
Gaming.
No,
he has.
Yeah, I know
Insider
the guy.
Gaming.
I know the guy you're talking. He's pretty reliable. It's a reliable.
Very
source.
reliable. Exactly. Mm-hmm. He also leaked other PlayStation news, like their terrible handheld, the Q, whatever you call that thing. So he's not. It's not like he's some crackpot saying this. If he's saying this, it has some validity to it. It's just to see if they scrap those plans. It's the same thing I'm saying here with the news, with the leaks we have here with Microsoft. It doesn't mean it's going to happen for certain, but this is what it looks like. It looks like their roadmap is laid out. And I just want to say this just to say it. If you see what they have here in leaks, I don't think you can look at Microsoft and be like, oh, this is negative. Everything I saw painted a positive picture. Yeah. Honestly. And so if Microsoft is, and like you all said earlier, absolutely I can understand them being upset with all the plans being put out there, because it possibly puts Sony in a positive position to use it against them, right? So that's possible. But everything we're seeing such a positive and forward-thinking layout from Microsoft here.
This is good for us, man. This is good for the Xbox ecosystem.
One thing we haven't spoken about is the handheld. What do you guys think of an Xbox handheld?
I was about to move to that, but I just
good question.
Quickly want to circle back to, because I didn't get Umbra's take on the new controller, and I was going to shift to that. So just quickly, because we haven't heard Umbra's take on the controller, haptic feedback. What do you think?
The haptics, I did hear, I think Pete may have mentioned it, or one of you guys mentioned it. I was kind of in and out because I was traveling. But a lot of people kind of see as gimmicky. However, a lot of people absolutely did ask to get haptic feedback and gyroscopic gyro, whatever you want to call these gyroscopic touch added to it, like the what controller had that? I think it was the
Switch has
Steam
it.
controller.
PS3.
Yeah, and the PS3. That's right, and the Switch did have it too, right? So, or was it the Steam? I know Steam. I think the Steam controller had it too, or something like that. I forgot what all had it, but I did see people ask to have that, and I did also, if you all remember, Phil Spencer actually talked about it too, and he was saying that he had liked some of these the aspects of the dual shock or the dual sense controller.
Did
So
you
it
fill
makes
out
sense.
the survey at the start of the generation number?
I can't remember. I may have,
Mhm.
but I can't remember. But I think it's the evolution of the series. The Xbox controller. It makes sense to have it, and I think that I have enough faith in Microsoft to use it properly. Right. I don't think Sony, as decent as the dual. I keep saying dual shock. The dual sense, as decent as that controller is, it's just not touching it. It's just not touching the Xbox controller to me.
No, it's
So
not.
if I had to
But-
trust anybody to make it ergonomically correct and to make it fulfilling in whatever game you play, I would trust Microsoft to do it more than anybody else. So I expect it to
might
be
be
solid.
ergonomically correct, Umbra, but what about the battery life, bro? I think that no one touches on
Yeah.
that enough.
Well, seeing how that Microsoft gives you the option to use AA or rechargeable, I don't think that's going to be an issue personally. And then you can also plug it up. I think you have so many options with the Xbox controllers that PlayStation doesn't. I don't think it's going to hurt them too bad, honestly. And
Yeah, they said the new controller is going to be rechargeable, but also removable.
Yeah.
So they might give you something of a 41 milliamp or something like that, right? You never know. They might give you a really strong battery to put into it that you can recharge and such. So who's to say? But I'll say this just one last thing. The design is kind of odd the way it looks. I wonder if they're going to stick with that. And I also wonder, by looking at that, does that tell us a bit of how the next console is going to be designed? Because it has
Hold up, yeah, because this is what we were talking about before. Do you think, Umbra, that the physical form factor of the controller is different?
It looks slightly different.
That's what we said too.
But we
It
looked
looks-
it up.
does,
and
but when you look in the
Merlin-
notes,
Merlin
It looks-
is actually the Xbox One controller.
Yeah, I was going to
And
say
they-
it looks. I was
and they
just
said
about to
it's-
say it looks reminiscent of the Xbox One controller. That's exactly what I was about to say. Funny enough, Pete. So yeah, that's the thought I get from it by looking at it. It looks somewhat Xbox One-ish. Even the triggers look like it. I think that's the biggest indicator. The triggers, the not the triggers, but the bumpers. They look.
But
kinda
it's interesting
Xbox
that they're
One-ish.
saying that it's the same form factor as the Merlin, which means that it hasn't changed, but it just looks different.
It
And they've
looks
moved
different,
they've
yeah.
moved that middle button. Is that
I
the
see.
capture button up?
Yeah,
Up
the
to the
capture
center.
button to the middle.
And
Yeah.
the bumpers are, I feel like the top, like the bumpers look slightly different as well.
Because
Like,
I don't
something
look. I
looks
don't know
different.
about you guys, but I often capture a screenshot when I don't mean to. So it would
Me too,
probably be
all the
good to
time.
have that button shifted up. But yeah, look,
But you never captured a
if
screenshot
they-
without
if they-
wanting to.
if they
Yeah.
do it
I will
right,
say one more thing. I'm sorry, Riz. Go ahead.
no, you're right. I was going to say if they do it right, and Xbox and PlayStation have similar implementations, maybe we'll see, as we said earlier, maybe we'll see third parties start to really adopt it. But sorry, Umbra, you jumped.
You know, the thing too, I see them talking about with the haptics will double as speakers and such. I hope I hope we're not blowing this any damn thing.
Or having a mic. There's
Look,
nothing worse than playing COD with PlayStation players and they've left their mic on and you can just hear the kids running around in the background and screaming. And it's like, dude, turn your mic off.
Right.
Sorry, Pete.
If I blow into it, I
Haptic-
wonder will my wheels spin faster in Forza? I don't know.
No, they'll be
Haptic
stuck.
implies that you're going to need to have digital rumbles in there. And we all know what that has done to the battery life, instead of the analog rumbles that we've got in the Xbox controller. We all know what that has done to the PlayStation battery life. You play a game with that full
shocking.
haptic feature on, and it is
4
literally
hours.
2 hours. Yeah,
Yeah.
and in some games, 2 hours. And I mean,
So-
that to me is a massive, massive failure and a downgrade
Yeah.
in the technology we have now. That is my one big
Yep.
point with the PlayStation controller. So look, if I
two
have an
things for
option,
me,
I'm
battery
gonna play
life
with the
and
controller I've got in my
ergonomics.
hand.
Battery life and ergonomics to me are the lifeblood of it. By the way, I'm looking at more of it now, and they have a lot of other things they're going to add, like approachability, right? It says engage and delight. You can lift the controller to wake it. I like that. That sounds pretty dope.
Me too. I like that too, bro. Hell yeah. It reminds me of the days of saying yelling Xbox on.
Yeah, right.
It does.
I see the same ergonomics as the Merlin, so you're right. So it's the same controller. I think it's maybe the sheen that we're seeing on the top part that throws us off. And
I think it's just an optical illusion.
Yeah.
I think it might be an optical illusion.
It does have a slight bevel because I picked up while we were talking about it. I picked up I've got my Series S controller and held it up against the picture. There's a slight bevel at the front, but it's nothing that would change that. It won't change
a feel of it in the hand.
The outward part, right?
Yeah.
Also, too, they got the new modular thumbsticks, so they look like they might be more on the pro side with the thumbsticks, just like they did
it looks like
the,
it's got the elite D-pad as well. Yeah.
Who was working on magnetic? Someone was working on magnetic thumbsticks, and I don't know if it was. I'm pretty sure Microsoft had a stake in that.
There is a controller that's out there right now that uses magnetics, and supposedly it eliminates stick drift almost. And even if you get it, you can fix it. I can't remember the name of the controller.
It's that cheap controller, that white one, right? That you could plug in. I can't think of the name of it, but I know what you're talking. It's also cheap too. I think like $40 or something like that.
Yeah, we talked about it probably like a year and a half ago on this show, like very, very early on.
$40 is $800 in Australia.
It is the next step up. Like, I mean, stick drift is just infuriating. And if we moved over to magnetics, you would think that it would eliminate it. But one thing I don't like is this adding of recyclable plastics into it. Recycled plastics are never as strong as, non-recyclable plastics. And I get the eco-friendly warriors out there, but really, I don't really care about you.
Oh, this will be a woke controller then.
He's like, kill me.
This will be a woke controller then, Pete. You should be happy.
I ain't gonna be alive in 100 years. Hey, it makes no fucking difference to me.
What does somebody please think of the children?
You all heard that, chat? He doesn't give a damn about anybody behind him. It's like whatever. No, but like it's a woke controller, Pete. The recyclables and stuff. Yeah, you should be happy for this.
I just hope that it is as sturdy as the controller we have. Like, I mean, I already have problems with. And it's more the internals, I suppose, and the metal parts rubbing on each other that causes the issue. But I do have a little bit of concern when it comes to that point.
It's probably got something to do with the games that you play. Personally, I don't know.
So some of this I was going to say just to add.
Capano, plastic is very, very important, especially if you're considering the next generation.
One thing I was going to point out before we move on is the ubiquity part where it says play anywhere. So it has Bluetooth 5.2 direct to cloud. Now, what do they mean by the direct to cloud in Xbox Wireless 2? What do they mean by that part?
You can direct to cloud now on your controller, can't you? So what? Yeah. So what's up with that?
Oh, that's a good point because you Bluetooth to your cloud device.
That's right.
Maybe they're going to get rid of that. Maybe they're going to get rid of latency by you being able to link directly to the cloud.
That's some weird language if that's the case. That's
and I think it's that because if you look at the panel you had up a minute ago, Risk, where they were talking about the things they're aiming for, the latency was one of them that they talked about. So this controller might be feeding in directly into what you just said.
Yeah, it's also latency compensation. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think that's what it is. That's what I was thinking. So it says seamless pair and switch, new mobile app features, see paired devices and cloud managed devices and accessories, which is what we're going to next with the supposed handheld. I wonder how. I'm thinking they're talking about that when they say that. Maybe how easily to pair. I'll let you go to the next topic though. Sorry.
No, it's cool. Let's jump into it. Like that's straight in. Hit the 8 p.m. EST normally, whatever. Handheld. So, sorry, chat. That was a little bit lazy of me. Please subscribe if you're new here and hit the handhelds. Yeah. No, I don't think they need it. Like why? I don't see a use case for that. I was thinking about this. I was driving back from the shop, picked up a couple of schnitties and a mushroom, and I was driving back with my schnitties and my mushroom, and I was thinking, so we've had the Steam Deck, we've had the ROG, right? All the people that are going to adopt a handheld have probably already adopted a handheld, right? maybe there'd be a few holdouts, but I think this would be a bad time for them to go. And I don't see a use case for it. Why?
I think if you moved away from it being a PC architecture-based platform to more of a console in the hand situation, you would get a lot more people on board than what you currently have on the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck. I think that it needs to be more accessible. If they were to move in a Xbox branded handheld direction, it needs to have the Xbox UI dashboard it needs to be a console in the hand, not a PC in the hand. That's my opinion. That would be more successful.
That's coming from the
I don't
the
care
PC
about
side.
handhelds. I really don't. I want them to focus on games. I want them to focus on consoles. I want them to focus on Game Pass. I don't think Xbox needs a handheld. I think that is the whole point of having, the ability to play your games on cloud, so you can just you can hook it up to your phone. Your phone is capable of playing a game on a cloud. Umbra, you've got a Rogue, so I think that you're more. You would have a better ability to talk to this than me, but my personal opinion is I don't think it's necessary.
I feel like it might not be a necessity, right? But I guess we don't know until we have it. And I wonder how many people, the hardcore, of course, will adopt it. But I wonder, though, are they talking about having a handheld, or are they just talking in general part of the ecosystem here? Because you see and that's what I'm thinking, because you see the PC layout there. Now it is like highlighted in color and gradient, so maybe they do have something, but you see the other options such as PC and phone, mobile, and things like that. So they could just be talking about all the parts of the ecosystem where you will be able to play their games through cloud.
That is a great point. That is a great point. And I think someone pointed that out in the chat, that they're not actually making a handheld specifically, but they're just going to be third-party handhelds that are going to have the ability to play cloud. So I'm sorry by not calling you out by name. I didn't see who you were, but thank you for that comment. It was awesome.
I think
Phil
that
Spencer
might be
more or less said that the ROG Ally is more or less an Xbox handheld. Xbox has partially marketed it that way anyway, so they very well might not be talking about a native Xbox handheld, but they could be.
To Umbra's point, the handheld, if you look at it very closely, you can see that it is Xbox buttons with the Xbox D-pad.
Yeah, but I mean, the ROG Ally is like that as well.
Yeah, it is fairly close to that.
Not quite as much as this one. I'll just drop that in the
chat. Fair enough.
Let me look at it more to see.
But then also we've got that cloud device sitting there, that the one that we spotted on Phil Spencer's shelf, and he said that it's been put to bed. So that's another thing I think we need to keep in mind when we're talking about all these leaks. These leaks are, this documentation is slightly older, and they could have changed tact, and things do change quickly, and it's very dynamic environment behind the scenes. So, they may have dropped or changed any of these things that they're working on, hopefully with the haptics, because I was actually one that wanted it.
Well, Riskit, it's going to be dynamic now that it's public knowledge. They're going to get a pretty good feedback now on what their fan base is thinking about their moves. They have ample time to change a lot of this based on feedback from fans. So they could look at this as a blessing in disguise in a way. If now that the information's out there, they can say, okay, what are people thinking about our roadmap? And if
this is a little bit out of left field. But what do you think this knowledge is worth to your competitor? So, okay, say there is going to be a class action suit against however this was leaked. What is this worth to Sony, and how much can Microsoft actually ask for compensation for this leak getting out there? Because this is egregious.
Well, they already put out their statement, like Risk mentioned it a while ago. They're denying that they had anything to do with this leak. So
but if Risk is correct, this was actually on their website, and I don't know how you escape culpability if it's literally listed on your website.
Exactly.
It says the FTC was not responsible for uploading Microsoft's plans for its games and consoles to court website. FTC spokesperson Douglas Farrar tells me. That's Stephen Totila who reported that. By the way, that handheld does look mightily Xbox-ish. Risk, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Now that I look at it again, it looks more closer to a Switch than anything else, but it definitely has highlights of an Xbox to it. If you look at the far left part, that's not a feature on a ROG, for instance, right? Like that looks like it could be an Xbox symbol, or if so to speak. And then if you look at the controller layout rather, it looks kind of similar to the stylings of the Xbox controllers and such to me.
Who is
Actually hope
Xbox
so.
working with on making that handheld? Weren't they working with someone? Valve, I believe. Like I know they work with Valve. I know they work with HTC on third-party devices as well. I think a VR headset. So Microsoft do have their fingers in a lot of pies, but they actually never, go out and make. A lot of this is for third-party things. So in terms of like how the button outlay is designed, I mean. It's the best button design. The ergonomics of the actual thumbsticks are fantastic. How the bumpers work. Microsoft does have input into a lot of the third party developers that make these things. So that could be the reason for that.
One of the things that I think is actually on that list of devices that's coming out is more probably, I think, suited to the PlayStation gamer. To be fair. I don't know if you've seen that there's a one-handed controller, and I feel like that would be a really good way to navigate Pornhub.
I knew you were going to say that. I saw that. And by the way, if you look at the mobile controllers next to it, you notice it has that same little design with the white Xbox logo. Notice the Xbox logo to the far left. Now look at the handheld. Very similar.
Extremely so.
So that does look more like it's actually an actual device by Xbox to me.
And on the same token, everything else in that picture that is a physical representation of what it's Xbox. Showing. Yeah, the Xboxes, they are the same. Like as in that is what they look like. That is exactly how an Elite controller looks like. That is how a core looks like.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So if you're running by that metric, it could be a true Xbox handheld. Yes.
Yeah.
Because everything else is. So yeah.
Yep. Because everything else is, like you said, it's not highlighted. But those things are.
Right. The things that is how they look in reality.
Yeah.
So
we might just see that because that cloud, even the cloud device is represented. So yeah.
And that's how it looked.
So listen, I tried to find this tweet from Stephen Totila about the FTC because I'm kind of interested to see because look, I can bring this up straight up on the website here, and I can drop it on the display.
There you go.
This is all directly from the Federal Trade Commission.
But I'll just say quickly that the Logitech G Cloud gaming handheld has the same button layout as the Xbox. The Razer Edge also has the same button layout as the Xbox. So it's neither here nor there, that argument.
But it has the Xbox badge and everything on there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you look closely at it, Pete, it's definitely an Xbox. That doesn't mean that it is. I'm not saying that they're definitely going to release one. But I'm just saying that it's interesting that they put one in there like that. And I think one of the things that we're gonna see, like you guys said, like if the reaction is good to it, people are like, yeah, I want that, then I think we're gonna see, Xbox probably put one out. They're probably gonna listen. They're probably gonna scrap and change, and things are gonna become very dynamic, like Ruda said behind the scenes.
Yeah, look at the Steam Deck, look at the Asus ROG. They are killing it out there. So that Microsoft would be crazy not to consider it.
Yeah, it would definitely be a consideration. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if there's a use case for it. I mean, look, if they were to build it, say, and run it for only cloud, but it only linked to your Xbox, so it was a remote play device, and you could only use it on high-speed Wi-Fi, I think it'd be pretty successful. Maybe you can make it white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder too if I wonder too if it's a device by the same people who made that the mobile device that Microsoft is working closely with, maybe to have it like a branded thing for them too. It doesn't necessarily mean it's an Xbox thing.
That's what Pete was talking about. What was the name of the guys?
Like the Razer Kishi, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't Razer. It was.
It wasn't. I think it was Valve. I can't remember who they were working on the hand. I know they were working on the VR headset with HTC. I can't remember who they were working on the handheld with.
Yeah. If you guys in chat know who they were working with on a handheld, let us know. But yeah, I'm just reading this now. It says the FTC says don't blame us as Microsoft Mega League.
Sorry. Microsoft worked closely with Logitech on its handheld. There you go.
Logitech. There you go. Yeah.
So the FTC is not responsible for uploading Microsoft plans. I don't know how they're going to get around this. It's literally on the website. Like I'm in it now. So
wait, where does it say that? Because I just went to FTC and I couldn't find that post. So
yeah, so it's Stephen Totila. He's a he's covers video games for Axios. So yeah, he probably reached out to get some sort of comment from them. So I'd say he's like, "Fuck, don't blame him." How do you fuck that up? How does that happen? Like, what is that? Just a PlayStation fanboy within the FTC, and he's like, "I'm going to get Xbox here. And I'm going to leak all this stuff." Like, how
they fuck everything else up? I'm not that surprised. They fuck everything else up. They can't win anything. So.
How do we end up here? How do we end up with leaks to 2030? And like, could you imagine the Xbox team this morning? Man, that would not be a great wake up. That would not be a great.
This way, that they weren't like PlayStation didn't want to give Xbox any information about their next console, and they said that they're not going to work with Call of Duty developers like in the future because that's how close to their chest they hold all this stuff.
Yeah, but
there would be hell to pay for this.
But they still provided, that's the thing, Pete, like it's sort of a little bit baffling, is they still provided the FTC with a lot of documentation. I mean, we saw that really well redacted document they did with a Sharpie. Like, they still handed off documents to the FTC. So how does, from one case, you've got Nintendo would have been handing in documents. You've got a lot of these companies that would have handed things in. How does everything Xbox leak out and nothing else?
There is a pony working at the FTC.
100%. Gotta be. Yeah. Nothing else explains it because it keeps happening to Microsoft continuously.
This is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, like joking around. Yeah, it's a pony, but like this seems like a targeted attack. It doesn't seem like it is a targeted attack.
More ways for them. They lost the war, right, or the battle, so they try to like throw this out there like, well, look what Microsoft was going to do. They were going to buy Nintendo,
bro. So, Microsoft's lawyers thought they were busy before. Holy shit, dude! They got some work to do now.
This is why I say, though, that even though we are seeing these plans and what looks like to be a proper roadmap for the future for them, doesn't mean it's necessarily laid in concrete, right? Because the Nintendo situation, I don't think they're still trying to go that route. For instance, you know what I mean? I don't think they know they can't. Like it's a horizontal, it's not a vertical, so it's automatically going to be stopped. If they gave them this much trouble with ABK, Nintendo, imagine. So, but I think though that this really just paints a picture of things that they're kind of putting on their dream board, so to speak, of things they want to do. What I do appreciate most is, who is it?
He's saying Riskit kick Umbra's butt for not telling he does the podcast. In all fairness, this is an impromptu podcast, guys. No one knew that we were going to do it, so Umbra is not to blame.
I didn't even know we were going to do it.
I was going to say, wait a minute, for telling him I don't have a podcast, like my podcast. Yeah. I was like, Louis, where you been all this time? You don't know I had a podcast? Anyway, but yeah, it was impromptu, brother. But I would say though, just for to say this roadmap here, like I said, it's all positives really when you look at it. But one of the bigger things I took from it is that Microsoft is behind their words. They are fully behind them. So if they were willing to spend what needed to be spent to get ABK, imagine what Nintendo would have cost. You know what I mean? I think that would have cost even more overall.
Well, and so But look at what they're doing with everything behind the scenes. To your point is, and then you talk about cost. That's and the R&D. I mean that slide we had up earlier on with research and proof of concept. That's all R&D stuff that they're working on the background to forward gaming. That doesn't come cheap. That's millions, billions of dollars over time. Future fertile ideation, and they're still trying to come up with ideas to make things work. You can tell that from this, I guess, to your point, you can see from this that they are all in on gaming, and there's no lie in that at all.
We all know that espionage happens, especially corporate espionage. How much do you think that PlayStation knew this roadmap going forward anyway?
Ooh.
You say how much they knew, you said?
You think Jim went to court this morning? You think Jim was in there just uploading shit?
Yeah, I mean, look, he is known to know a lot of people. That's why he got the job, especially in Europe. Not so much with the FTC, but we know the FTC and the CMA have been talking the day. Yeah. Okay, let's go real conspiracy theory. Let's put our foil tin hats on. The CMA thing is really getting close to the deadline. They're really being put under pressure. This changes that narrative completely. I mean, those talking points are now being shut out because of this leak. Do you think that there's a possibility that, you know, he got his fingers in there and, you know, spoke to people he knew? Yeah, I mean,
it's very
that's
possible.
Real tinfoil.
Well, listen, we already know about that one guy who came forward that worked with them, who's talked about how they were, you know, him and his team would overlook it. They worked with the FTC. So who's to say that they don't have somebody in the CMA? It's his home turf over there. It's very possible, and money talks. And I would say the continued leaks that we get, only to me, I don't think Microsoft is this buffoonish to keep fumbling like that. To me, that must mean somebody is there. Tinfoil hat on now, but that must mean they have some type of mole in there willing to drop this information out.
That's almost a certainty at this point, because this stuff is just, there's no way that it can be this coincidental, right?
Exactly.
And why is there nothing that's sort of why is it coincidentally the entire Xbox roadmap for the next generation, basically? Like, and there's not even one document from Sony, or, you know, come on, man, we're not stupid here.
Bond, like Sony Bond. Sorry.
Yeah, look, dude, it's
and just to say too, even beyond that, like, I think it's maybe a bit of a spoiler thing, because I wonder then, with this being leaked like this outside of public perception, well, I guess they can't really do anything now. I mean, the situation is done with the FTC. That's really only the CMA trying to hold things back. But I feel like this is them trying to somehow stifle this deal in some way.
Of course.
Not adding
up. For sure, that's what it is, man. They are fighting tooth and nail against this deal. Like,
we are full tin hat foil now. Wow.
Let's
go. Fucking go.
Like, Nintendo's involved in it. Bond has come in. Sarah Bond. There's a Sony mole. Is it like an actual mole, like an animal mole? He's like digging under the ground.
Yeah. Ask yourself why else they would do it. Why else would they do this?
Austin Powers. Mole. One thing I'll say too, just is kind of off topic, but you remember I'm sure you all remember the PlayStation, our Who brothers talking about, oh, Microsoft's going to be a third party, blah, blah, blah. Well, according to these leaks here, they have a path all the way to 2030 with that. So, and they're talking about console being their key health meter for the brand. I think any of that, you know, disillusionment people may have had with the Xbox brand and wondering if they're not going to be around or not. Again, I think that's dispelled. Honestly, I think Microsoft was in it fully.
Fake news, bro. Umbra, we all know Xbox is going to be gone basically next year, bro.
Yeah. Get ready to play Halo on PlayStation, guys. It's coming.
If the mole has his way,
right.
It's going to be dead in a year, dead and buried. Look, there is a lot more to cover, but we've been rolling on this for around about 2.5 hours now. So listen, guys in the chat, you guys have been absolute champions. It is late here for Pete. I think Pete's coming up to, and Garuda, I think it's coming up to
1:30 a.m.
4 in the morning for these guys. 1:30 a.m. So we definitely got to wrap up. But I want to say to you guys, chat, you're absolute champions. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. If you are not, please hit the like button if you haven't already. And please join us in thanking our guest, Garuda Intruder. Really appreciate you coming through, man, and giving us your takes on all the leaks. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot more, and there's going to be a lot more to dissect out of this because there's a lot of court documents to go through. So this is not the last that we're going to see. But thanks for coming through, bro. Let people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to, and when you're coming back to Xbox from that horrible PC Master Race land.
The thing is, Risk, I haven't left Xbox because Xbox is a platform, not a console, you see. I don't know how many times I have to tell you that. And if these leaks can tell you anything, they will reinforce my position on that, mate. So you're going to have to get a PC, buddy. Look, you can't really find the place you can find me is here from time to time. So that's the best place to catch me. Look, it's my pleasure to be here. It really is all mine. This is absolutely massive news. We've been here for 2.5 hours thrashing it out, and we still haven't touched on half of it. Really, we're going to be hearing about this stuff for probably months and months, and if there's legal action taken over it, probably years. So, just when you thought the drama couldn't get any bigger,
right?
Yeah, watch this space, man. This is incredible stuff. And you know what? I like everything that I've seen about what Xbox has coming. This is good for us. If you thought your backlog was going to be any easier heading forward, guess again. Because we're eating good on this Xbox side, and the Xbox One generation is just a distant memory at this point.
Was the one-handed controller your favorite?
It was my favorite, bro. Yeah. My favorite.
Thanks for coming through, brother. It was absolutely fantastic to have you on. I know it's late, so I appreciate every second.
Yeah, man, I'm half dead. No, it's all good. I appreciate you inviting me on, bro. I love it.
Awesome. Infinite, another great show. Impromptu, so apologies to everyone. I was just like, man, got to go live on this one, and just jumped in. So appreciate you speeding back from work, man. Let people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to.
Oh yeah, absolutely, brother. I mean, once we saw the news, I even thought and wondered if you would have something, and then I saw you pop up saying, I'm like, oh well, there we go. This calls for it though, right? I mean, we just had an outlined plan of 10 years, 12 years in the making coming. Let's say 8 years, and 8 years in the making laid out to us, and it's probably more coming for all we know. So this is monumental. This is a major leak, and you know, I think we're so used to Xbox having leaks like this, and Xbox, you know what? Now that I think about it, and I've said this before, if we didn't have Xbox news, we wouldn't hear anything about gaming news. Microsoft single-handed
100%,
Xbox.
bro.
We would, I mean, imagine how dry it would be, because you don't hear anything from Nintendo and PlayStation the way you do with Xbox. Microsoft has single-handedly carried content creators, be they PlayStation or anybody else, Xbox and etc.
Amen.
So, yeah, these leaks have been a godsend, honestly, just to say, because it's just opened so much discussion. And I think, although it's been, you could look at it negatively and say, oh, these leaks, but I think these leaks have been a boon for Microsoft. I think they've been a positive for them. People may have wanted to use them for negativity, but I think it's painted a pretty picture going forward for Microsoft, honestly. But anyway, that said, you guys can join me on Boom's Xbox Factor, because he's going live now. I think he's live right this minute. So he went a little earlier too. So I'm going to jump over there. And of course, you guys, you know where to find me, Twitter or X, whatever you want to call that thing, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. And come back here to see us here on Friday. If we go live Friday, I'm sure we will.
We'll definitely be going live.
Yeah.
I'll ask my mom. Pete, man, thanks for coming through, man, and dragging your butt out of bed. I don't know if you're in bed, but like staying awake till 1:30 in the morning, coming through, giving us your takes, absolutely champion. So let people know where they can find you and what you'll be up to in the coming week.
Wasn't going to miss this. We were missing Holly, which sucks a little bit, but she couldn't get here, guys. Yeah. Garuda, thank you for coming through, bro. We had over 100 people in the chat on Impromptu Podcast. You guys
like
in the chat,
130.
absolutely. Yeah, you guys rock, man. Had a lot of fun. Yeah, there's a lot of negative here. Like the leak shouldn't have happened, but if you look at it from an Xbox standpoint, wow, we are going to be eating good going forward. Yeah, they are in gaming 100%. Not sure about this Nintendo acquisition, but hey, the rest of it is awesome. Thank you for being here. I'm out.
Oh, Pete's God, that was quick. Jeez, damn. Well, I guess that's it. You guys can find me here. You can find me on Twitter. All of our links are down in the description. And head over to Booms. I was going to redirect everyone or raid Booms' channel, but it won't let me for some reason. So make sure you head over to Mr. Boom's X Factor podcast, and we'll see you at the usual time, hopefully this week.
Thanks,
Later.
guys.